Welcome everyone to the promotion relegation games for Umzansi Esports League Season 4, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming Africa. My name is Proxy, and I shall be your host for this weekend as we take you through the gauntlet that is these promotion relegation games. Once again, same format, same grueling format, and of course we've got our wonderful casters joining us today. It is Patchy and Iro OG to bring you all the action for today's games. Speaking about today's games, let's take a look at that schedule so you can see what you are in store for, because trust me, these players are definitely in store for something else. It's not going to be easy this weekend. Starting off with today's 4 maps, not 3 maps.
Ooh.
No. We're doing 4 maps today, all right? So we're giving every single team ample opportunity to get those points, ample opportunity to hopefully get themselves a spot in the next season of Umzansi, but that starts tonight. Speaking of tonight, Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, then back to Erangle. So, I mean, at least they have 2 opportunities with Erangel. You know, they can get a little bit of a warm-up, come back, and hopefully do a little bit better than they might have done in the first map. But speaking of this weekend, let's take a look at the bracket as well, so we can start to break down how this gauntlet really works, because it can be a little bit confusing. There's a lot of numbers to talk about. You know, my casters also got confused. I got confused. There's many things that we have to talk about. So, starting with today, Group C versus Group D. Now, as I'm going to try explain this as nicely as I possibly can, but don't worry, I'm going to rehash it. So, as you can see from Group C, it's positions 25 and up to 32 from Umzansi. So that's the bottom of the bottom from Umzansi versus the bottom of the bottom from Inkosi, positions 9 to 16 that qualified for this opportunity. And it doesn't stop for them, unfortunately. The top 8 from today still have more games to play before they can actually secure themselves a spot. Whereas the teams going head to head tomorrow, the top 8 from those games on Saturday, will go straight through to Umzansi, with the bottom 8 facing the top 8 of today on Sunday. So you can see how it gets confusing, right? There's a lot of math involved, a lot of numbers. I'm just gonna say there's math involved to make myself feel better about it. But hopefully you got that. Hopefully you are set. Speaking of today's games, let's actually take a look at those team introductions and start to go through so many teams that have really put in the effort either to get to the spot or maybe didn't put enough effort in Umzansi to unfortunately get to the spot. So, Patchy, Iro, let's start going through these groups, starting off with Group A. Iro, who do you see? Who are you excited about?
Oh man, I'm excited about 7A. Okay, that there is fantastic. I mean, in the week that they had to qualify, it was very close for them. So I didn't get to catch up as me being lazy, but we are here in the promotion relegation phases, and I'm seeing them. So I'm excited. I'm smiling. I'm happy about that one. And yeah, just generally from this page alone, that there is a thumbs up from me.
Absolutely, 7. I mean, it was hard to see 7 AOK. I think they were like 1 or 2 points away from actually making it into the finals. And I mean, for everyone here, you know, if they didn't make it into the finals from Mzansi, they're basically competing in promotion relegation, which is a hard knock. It means that, you know, the action doesn't stop for them. But going on to Group B, let's see who is in that group and who's made it through. So there's a little bit of a mix of Inkosi and Umzansi teams. So you might see one more Umzansi team or one less Inkosi team, depending on how it went through. But yeah, Group A still looking very, very stacked indeed. Moving on to Group B, Patchy. This is now where the Inkosi teams start to, you know, make a little bit of a statement. Now, obviously, Iro would know a little bit more about
Yeah.
the Inkosi teams, but I'm going to ask Patchy initial thoughts, just based off some of the names that you might have seen before. I'm thinking that Inkosi teams have a lot to showcase, right? I mean, we saw the Inkosi teams making such an impact this season. You think that that's going to be replicated moving on to the next season?
Hey,
Just a
that's a
hunch.
tough one because I feel like even though the Incorsi teams that promoted from the last season into this one have been giving us a really good show, and just the fact that they were able to surprise us with a really good performance at the beginning of the season was that was quite something, I have to say. Just seeing the caliber of teams that did manage to promote up into season 4 was really, really fantastic. Now looking at this again, like, do we think we're going to get a replica of those performances? Are we going to get our
Mm.
Incorsi teams coming up in there to do something the same? I don't know. I feel like 7AOK, like Iro just said, I think 7AOK is a big one in this particular series. I think they're going to be a team to actually beat. I think they're going to be one of the teams to beat here, because I think they absolutely have the potential
Mm.
to walk through to the finals of the promotion relegational series. Um, I can't really say anything about the Inkosi teams because, of course, I haven't really seen much of what they have to offer. But that's not to say that they don't have anything to offer, because as we've seen, you can't really count
Yeah.
Inkosi teams out. They are certainly, they can definitely bring some new stuff to the table. So I do expect that we'll see that. But I think I'm going to stay loyal to my lads over at the Umzansi Esports League. I think we still got I think we still got the top teams here, so they certainly will be very difficult to get past. But that's why we have the series, to see who's actually worthy to upgrade themselves to that Umzansi season and really test their mettle.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
I mean, looking at Group C and D, there's also a few names that we've obviously seen there. Group C and D being the two groups that we're going to be seeing going head to head today. The bottom from Mzansi versus the bottom from Inkosi. Well, bottom top from Inkosi. It's quite confusing, but yeah. Long story short, it's the teams that are starting off today that still have quite a weekend ahead of them. As we've mentioned before, just because they do well today, just because they get in the top 8 for today, it does not mean it's over for them. It doesn't mean that they've secured a spot in Umzansi yet. They still have to come back on Sunday versus the bottom 8 of tomorrow's game. So grueling process is just starting for these teams today. So we'll have a really good foundation for what we should be seeing this weekend. There's still a lot of games, of course, this weekend. Each day is going to have 4 maps. That is a lot of maps and a lot of opportunities for many of these teams to potentially get themselves into the next season of Mzansi, which, as we know, that's a premiership. That's where we want to see the best of the best in Africa going head to head, and it all starts with these promotion relegation games. So far in Inkosi, Iro, I mean, you've been there with me. We've seen some crazy teams, just coming to the rise, really giving us some interesting strats once again.
Hmm.
Is there any teams that's come to mind when you think about the Inkosi teams from this season?
Well, definitely Undisputed Africa, right? That is one of the teams that I compare a lot to Mzansi League because of just how pure talent they could tend to put out when it comes to those competitive games. The strategy works time in and time out, right? It's always to sit edge of zone, but somehow towards the end have 15 eliminations. They're not active at all off spawn to mid game, and they just straight on dominate towards that very end, getting the winner chicken dinner. They very much were so consistent in the weeks of Inkosi. Then you also have the likes of 10x Esports, who just showed some fierce gameplay. Those BBC X as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they can compare today and this entire weekend across, the Mzansi teams and so forth. Because, like, the only consistent, like I mentioned, was Undisputed for me, that I felt like, okay, this is worthy of Mzansi. But when it comes down to the pressure at the moment of the time, we understand that things can go south, and some of the Inkosi teams can really do well today or this weekend. So let's see exactly what is in play for us.
I mean, Patrick, from your side, we also saw Solo Esports in that list, and Solo Esports was especially in the semifinals a team we were waiting for. We were waiting for them to showcase, that insane gameplay that we've seen before from them. We know they have the capacity, but it just wasn't quite coming through in those semifinals. They weren't quite getting themselves out of relegation, unfortunately. But maybe this time they have an opportunity. Do you think they've switched it up? Do you think this is going to be the weekend we see that level of solo esports again?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Hey, they started off with such a bang that I really thought they were going to be able to do something interesting, but they fizzled out really quickly. They didn't really seem to have the stamina to bring it through all the way to the end. So it was a little bit of a tough one to see them because I kept saying pretty much throughout the entirety of season 4 so far is I just kept saying these guys they had such an impact in the first round. They were doing so well. They really were the poster boy, to say of getting kills over placements, because they didn't have any chicken dinners to their name, but they had so many kills that they were just all the way up at the top, on that first page, and I mean, that's something impressive. That's something to talk about. That shows you the power of kill points and the power of a team that knows how to get kills. But like I said, they ran out of steam and it just weren't able to sort of bring it back, and so finding themselves here, I think definitely will be another team to watch out for. Certainly, they have the potential to make things happen. But I think when it comes to a format like this, like the promotional relegational series, you need to be able to keep it going throughout the weekend. We've got 4 maps a day. And as we know, we're going to start with the teams that still need to move up into the next phase before they can actually move through. So they still have a lot of work to do, and they're going to have to perform kind of consistently if they want to get there. There's no chance of running out of steam. As soon as you run out of steam, it's over. You've got to keep this going pretty much all weekend long if you want to get to the end, if you want to get back up into Umzansi and keep yourself up there. So yeah, this is really going to be a true test of their endurance at this point, because they're really going to have to run the gauntlet and really pick up the pace on this one.
Absolutely. And we've seen many, many times that these promotion relegations really bring out either the best or the worst of many of the teams. It depends on, if they're equipped for this sort of a gauntlet, if they have the stamina, if they have the mental fortitude to actually handle all of these games that are being thrown at them, especially the groups starting tonight. As you've mentioned, they're not going to have an easy jump into Umzansi. Only the teams tomorrow have an opportunity to, if they get in a top 8, cool, you're in Umzansi next season, done and dusted. Whereas the rest of the teams, they have to keep fighting, they have to keep coming back. Starting off today, we have to figure out who's going to be the first top 8 to get at least a little bit further in our promotion relegation gauntlet, or if we will be saying, unfortunately, goodbye to them starting tonight. Already, 8 teams will be cut out of the promotion relegation gauntlet. So it's stressful. It's stressful for many of these teams to be working with because, again, as you mentioned, it's a lot of maps. It's 4 maps. I don't even know if my casters are ready for it. Are my casters ready for these 4 maps?
No,
Oh,
That's
yeah.
got water?
Totally ready for these 4 maps. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I mean, the teams are the ones who have to run the gauntlet, but we get to experience the gauntlet, which is just as thrilling. So, I mean, I'm totally ready to see some hands, see some destruction. I really hope we see fights as well, because I would absolutely hate it if any of these teams decided to, play the slow game on us. Like, no, we got 4 maps. We're going all in. You're giving it all you got right till the end. I don't want to see nobody be running out of steam. I don't want to see nobody, doing that tactically delayed rotation kind of nonsense. Let's get in those fights. Let's get it done.
Absolutely. You have to bring it all this weekend. There is no space for hiding strats, for keeping, some of that energy, some of that skill, behind closed doors. You need to bring it all out this evening, and especially this weekend if you're one of the teams starting tonight. It is a lot to do this weekend for many of these teams. There's a lot that they need to achieve to potentially move forward. And again, of course, all of this brought to you by Modern Gaming Africa. So if you want to take a look at that bracket once again, if you want to get a little bit more information about, the Umzansi League, the Inkosi League especially, then you must head over to the moderngaming.africa website for more information on that. As we get ready for Erangel, the first map of this evening, the first map of your promotion relegations for season 4, which again has been one of the most competitive seasons thus far. This is just the beginning. I'm going to hand it over to your amazing casters. It's Patchy, it's IroOG leading the charge, leading the action this evening, and starting off with such a beautiful map that we all know and love. Erangle, guys, take it away.
There it is. Thank you so much, S Proxy. Indeed, we are here on map number 1, and it is a nice circular series that we've got here for us today. It is a beginning on Erangle, and it is a finish on Erangle, and I really, really like this format actually, because in fact, even speaking of formats, let's start right at the beginning. There's a whole entire format that is Inkosi and Umzansi, and the interplay between those two tournament systems really does send the teams through a grinder and really starts to produce some quality teams. And we've really started to see that breaking out now, especially here in season 4. Like as Proxy was saying, we've had one of the most competitive seasons of Umzansi so far. And so I absolutely have to believe that the teams that are here right now are still of hugely high caliber, and right now the whole point of this weekend is to determine who actually makes it up into the next season of Umzansi. And I mean, we know that Umzansi teams are the highest caliber that we've got in the region, basically. So this is really the proving ground, the deciding ground. And so I expect these teams to really give it a good shot, give it a really, really good performance here on the stage today. And the fact that they now have the format of starting on Erangel and finishing on Erangel, you would expect that they actually have a really, really good series, because they start on Erangel, they get warmed up, and then they get to go through Sanhok and Miramar, so they get the 2 extremes, and then they get to go back to Erangel, and actually fix some of those mistakes. So there's a little bit of a catch where if their strategy for the first map didn't work out, they can still bring it back in the last Erangel map and actually try again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it comes down to, like you mentioned, making up for your mistakes, and this is where these players can do so, right? They can go in to the first map of Reangle, learn the POIs. Like for instance, here we have 333 versus MZR. They now know that they are contested. They now know that they will need better jobs and need to be more close to one another in terms of landing, looting, getting the preferred loadouts, and so forth. And that we can see going into the first map. So now going into the fourth map, they have some sort of intel. They know exactly what they're dealing with, and they can just play it so much more better. And that's where I'm gonna agree with you. The four map sort of format that we have for today is gonna be a special one over here.
Yeah, certainly will be. Now we get to have a look and see how the teams will decide to approach this situation where they have dropped right on top of one another, very close in proximity here. We got triple three taking up residence across half, and actually, it looks like is that MZN just across the way? It looks like they are actually split up just a little bit. You can see the play
Mm.
here, Nova. Oh, sorry, that's MZR. It's Nova all the way on the other side of the compound, so quite separated from the rest of the team. So they have to be careful that they don't get picked apart, but they do have the unique opportunity for a flank if they want to catch triple three out here.
Literally, they can. I mean, the Nova could be, a crucial part of this team. Maybe they're not really too focused on that. Triple three may potentially find themselves in a sticky situation when they do go for clutch and blood. That Nova can get the beams from behind and just that sort of flank that he's already positioned himself in. So goes for clutch over here. He's really in a good position, but it does look like, however, blood could, you know, easily get pushed by two players and then they will find himself in a tough position. But talking about so many aspects and sort of positionings that could potentially come into play. And like you mentioned, you want the action, you want everything to explode here in the first day of the promotion relegation. But I feel like first we got to get rid of that pressure, and that game one is going to be whether or not these players get that confidence boost or remain on those late tactical rotations that we usually see.
Yeah, a lot can happen and actually be decided here in the first map because when you're still new to actually the group, when you've
Mm.
never really played against the other team before, it can be a little bit of a tricky situation. You're still trying to find your way around and feel how the other teams are playing, which can really change up the game. If everyone's trying to play a little bit a little bit more hesitantly, then yeah, it can certainly lead to a bit of a slower game, but these teams cannot let that slip away from them. They have to make sure that they keep the pressure on just enough that things don't slow down too much. Otherwise, it can get really chaotic early on. And thankfully, we are having some fights at the moment. So triple three has already put a little bit of damage in. That's Bloody having gone down already. Surge and the rest of the crew having picked that one up know that they have a little bit of an advantage, but they got to be careful. Nova's still on the back line. Triple three have that 2-2 split. Glock and Gorilla on the one side of the compound in the house. Blood has been picked up, so that's a quick pickup for triple three. A nice secure for this one. They have the numbers advantage as well, so MZR's got to be careful. They're still split up. Nova on the one side. If they actually get cut off from one another, it could be very difficult to then. Nova basically has no way to recontact the team or get any assistance. So they really have to be careful here. Nova has to make a choice. Either they stay out on the sideline here and try to pick off a couple of shots in towards triple three, or they've actually got to go and rejoin the rest of the squad before they move off. They have to make some tough decisions here because they are down one player, so they have the disadvantage in that sense. And with this 2-2 split coming out of triple three, it's going to be difficult to take them down because they've got a reasonable backup regardless of where they are. Meanwhile, Nova is very much isolated from the rest of the group. So a little bit of a tricky spot here for triple three and for MZR here in Rozhok. The rest of the map, as you can see, we've got some teams moving in. Looks like Pachinki is getting a little bit of attention as teams are driving past here and there. Most of the teams, however, not too close. So there's still a good amount of space between the majority of them. You can see that EST is now moving past and just carefully making their way through a couple of other teams. as they will make their way past. We did see two teams actually, it looks like, drop on that military island, which is very nice to see. That's a +10 from me for everyone who drops down there on that military base. It looks like RDX is making their way across that western bridge, though. They're going to get themselves out of that position very quickly, even though the zone is still technically in the military base. They are predicting a mainland finish, which is uh, probably expected at this point.
Though could potentially going to play. This zone pool here is quite interesting as well. I mean, all the way sort of southwest in the way. Where do you find the zone sort of pulling next? Do you see some teams being in the next zone already?
Yeah, I feel like centralizing in the zone is always a good idea. Generally, the teams that make that happen get in towards the middle of the current zone, usually find themselves in a better position. Even if they're not in the zone in the next rotation, they usually are close enough to it to just get in there super quickly. I don't see anyone dead center in the zone, but I do see a
Hmm.
couple of teams just off center. So I presume that we're going to have a couple of teams at least in the next zone rotation. We should see that. I think it's probably also going to go on the mainland. However, I would love if it finished down on that island. We know the chaos that can come through when that
Hmm.
island is the finishing zone, and it can get really, really tough. But it does bring out some of the more prominent or stronger teams, are the ones that are able to endure that kind of pressure. So that would be nice, but I do feel like the zone is probably going to have a mainland finish. So we'll just have to wait and see. For now, we've got Fenny who's right up here on top of the mountain, keeping a weather eye out on the team down in that compound just ahead, seeing if you can pick up any cheeky shots in towards one of the players out there. But most of them are just staying behind cover. They're not really willing to expose themselves just yet.
Yeah, no. In these, final moments where it's a matter of clutch or death, they don't want to really put themselves into the positions of getting tagged up too hectically over here. And I want that action to come through, but it also gives us a belief that mid game towards end game, we are just going to be seeing guns blazing, bloodbaths, and then we can be in control of what's happening and patchy. It's going to be exciting moments.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. It is certainly going to be exciting to see what is going to go down here. I feel like a lot of teams might just get tripped up in the first map here, just considering that they're trying to still get a feel for what's going on in this grouping. There's not a lot of time for anyone to actually recover if you think about it in terms of getting
Mm.
comfortable. When it's seasonal format like season 4 of Umzansi, season 3, it's still, you get a little bit of chance to actually see what's going on in the groups, get a feel for how the groups play out, and how your
Yeah,
other teams in the group play. But in this format, the promotion relegational series, there's no time to do that. You've kind of got to get comfortable as quickly as possible, or
exactly.
you've got to just hit that accelerator. You don't really take any chances in terms of, oh, should we go for this or should we not. Just make the decision and make it happen. It looks like we've got a little bit of a car flip coming in there, getting some barrel rolls in, which is exactly what we like. Getting a couple of those very nice patchy points in the process. Minato just getting some driving going with his friend. That's the
Yep.
driving we like to see. That's the kind of driving that we really ought to be
I
treated to more
mean,
often.
I mean, it could just be featured in the next Fast and the Furious. You never know.
Oh yeah, that's what we like. That's what we like.
Yeah, but when it comes down to like you mentioned, today you have to get comfortable as you play the game, right? So whether your one team gets knocked by an opposition, you sort of see the how the gun skill is between those two players or those two teams. Then you get to understand exactly what you're working with in the midst of the moment, and then hope that you can clutch up in some way, form, or matter. I mean, we've seen some amazing 1v3s, 1v2s, and so forth. But in these tough positions, I don't know if that will be something that we will be able to spectate this time around. But like you mentioned, like it's literally today or never, because the moment you do get eliminated and you are the bottom eight of today, then it's almost as if it's done for you. It is done for you.
Yeah, for now, just have to wait and see what is going to be happening here in game number 1, the beginning of the promotion relegational series here. It's going to be going on for the whole weekend long, so you better stick around and see who is actually going to be making up. If you're a fan of those Inkosi teams, drop the names in the chat. Let's see who you're rooting for. If you're a fan of the Umzansi teams, who have unfortunately found their way down here, gave those names down the chat as well. For the time being, we've got a little bit of a fight here. Looks like Minato has been picked out of the field. Not much cover there, so it's a little bit of an exposed position, and they have gotten caught out. And this is something that we actually don't see enough of, especially up in Umzansi, where the teams are super careful. They actually end up not really exposing themselves this early on in the game and getting themselves caught out in a position like that. So we never really get to see these kind of plays where a team is able to capitalize on a rotation like that. But here we do get to see a little bit of it. So, this team has decided to make their way across. You could see Minato was moving across the field. And the team from EXS or 25, they were able to actually make it happen and just get a couple of bot shots down in towards Minato as they were crossing the field there, capitalize on that exposure. And of course, Minato's now trying to crawl back slowly to the team, but losing HP very, very quickly. The rest of the team has made their way into this crater, and they are defending the position as best they can, trying desperately to get to their team. Jose is actually making a super quick push up. The smokes have gone down as well, so they might just be able to make it. In fact, they have been able to make it, so Minato will not go down just yet. The save will come through from Jose whatever, that one.
Yeah, well, he's done good for his teams. They've now managed to still stay a full squad going into those end games. You know how numbers are very crucial here in PUBG. You need to make sure that your entire squad is alive if you want to clutch up these final moments. Try get that winner chicken dinner and eat well tonight with the games won. Over here by HORZ Esports and BC, we do have them sort of throwing grenades and just making each other quite known in this combat. They very much getting involved in the explosions, but really not connecting anything just yet. It doesn't look like we have some Kobe's up in BC over here, but definitely some good insight onto the players, and that's really going to do the damage for them over there. Just putting in the pressure and releasing it off themselves to be serious over here. But HORZ Esports, they can definitely carry themselves in a good fight going up against Black Crystal, if I'm not mistaken, if this is them.
Yeah, I think this is Black Crystal, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is. And they have a position here on this little hill. Could potentially take some fights from it, but they do have to be careful. Being on the low ground can cause a few problems. HORZ is a little bit split up, but that might just open up a couple more angles onto Black Crystal here, so they do have to be careful about that. Luckily for them, they are still inside that zone, so it's still good to go on that front. They don't have to do any battling inside the blue just yet. So we are moving in towards our fourth zone. So things are starting to pick up just a little bit. We're still on 14 teams, though, so no one's really been, no huge eliminations just yet. The teams have really managed to keep themselves alive for the time being. And we know what that means, Ira. We know what that means. It's going to be a little bit of a chaotic final few zones, I think.
Yeah, they always put themselves in these sticky situations, right? Like, yes, they're all getting these placement points, but no, not even yet. Nobody has touched placement, if I'm not mistaken, because there's no squad has been eliminated. There's only been 2 players out of the map, and that's very, very to see that we're already going into this part of the zone. And now things start to thin out. The players start to get more closer and closer to one another, and that's when the knocks and that's when the eliminations, the smoke screens go up and about, and things start to light for us. So yeah, it's gonna be chaos in a moment of minutes, and it's crazy. If you do blink, you miss out on quite a lot.
Yeah, certainly do. You got to keep an eye on what's going on. We do have our zone moving down towards that southwest position, so some rotations are going to have to start to come through for some of these teams. RDX taking a little bit of fire here. They do find themselves outside of that zone, so they got to make that rotate just along with all the teams in the general vicinity. And it looks like they're actually taking a little bit of a fight all across the board, because all of these teams, they know that they have to get that rotation on super quick. But in order to do that, they've got to try and alleviate the pressure from all the surrounding teams. They don't want to get caught out on the rotate. They don't want to get taken down while they're driving. So you've got to make sure that you just send a few shots down the way towards your opponents before you make your way out, because the RDX is making a move. And it looks like EST is getting pushed straight away, just absolutely slaughtered here. They had no chance. It's like they weren't even given a chance to breathe here. X just getting right in their grill, taking them down with a quick push and taking their spot. And yeah, Echo getting taken down. Now Vibe also getting shot at. That's Black Clover getting in, or Black Crystal, should I say, getting in a fight. Lots of fights now are starting to break out, and this is inevitable. This is exactly what we were talking about here. As soon as those zones start to tighten up, the things get very, very difficult for these teams because they start to run out of space. And when those rotations come through, it's a kind of a first come, first serve. And whoever comes afterwards, well, it's a gatekeep for you.
Exactly. I mean, those people who manage to get those early rotations, or even the RNG in terms of position and etc., they're very much lucky in these final moments because seeming that these players are struggling to rotate, a lot of them are actually falling down. X, which we did see earlier, just get those 2 eliminations. They're getting knocked as well, finding themselves in a situation where Minato is actually getting those knocks and so forth. Chaos and can just easily push up to Zelgard, who's knocked over here, get that confirmation in play. Chaos Tricks in the middle of the field, getting in so much tags. CST Tyler looking quite low on HP as he is tagged up over here by Tricks. Let's see exactly if he can get a knock going in favor of him. Bazai, HORZ, I'm going to say HORZ. I think we can both agree on this one here, Patch.
Yeah, the Hozaifa. Oh, always the most, always the most well-chosen names for our gamer friends here, every single
Yeah.
time. But in any case, we're getting some nades getting tossed in, and our friend Hozaifa has gotten taken down. Some shots going straight through in towards him. The sniper's just absolutely on a point right now, and the elims are coming through bit by bit, and they're just starting to absolutely pile up. We've got 13 teams now, which is still quite a lot considering how far we are, but in towards zone number 5 we go, and things are going to start to get that much more difficult. Draken is going to get taken down there with a nice nade placed in his direction. Minato, who was picked up earlier on in the game, is now fighting for his life and the rest of his team's life as well. Up on the top of that hill is a lot of pressure coming down in towards Chaos here. Minato just trying to keep everyone alive, making sure that the team keeps their hopes and dreams for trying to make it up into Umzansi in the next season alive, and right now absolutely fighting for it, which is what we want to see. But that blue zone is now starting to become a problem. It's going to be doing a lot of damage now that we're 5 zones deep, and some of these teams have their back up against the wall.
Yeah, Titan himself, doing quite a bit. I've seen his name pop up drastically, but it does look like Draga is just not going to be too good on himself. Titan with another knock over there, and it does look like maybe BC will be able to win this one out there, but we do have a position where HORZ Esports is actually dealing the damage onto X over here. Kadu is the only one left, and they do get that confirmation. Team wipe out of this one. The 2 players left for X, however, are going to be done and dusted and sent back to the lobby to reponder on the mistakes and maybe come back with an Erangle map in game number 4 to change things around for them. But they still got Sanhok and Miramar to go through to actually get into the 4th game, and there's still so much more stories and chapters to be written here in the Umzansi promotion and relegation day number 1. But we got a couple BC players out of zone. XO still making a rotation. And over here at Chaos, there seems to be chaos indeed happening over here as Mad Clan seem to be putting in the position of play. And it does look like Minato just can't handle the heat that is around them. And ooh, Mad Clan go in with heat over here, but it does look like they finally get all confirmations now down to literally reviving the 2 players. Matic managing to pulling in a med kit, so he's back to good HP, but now to revive the 2 players. HORZ in a good position as well. BC Draken and them making the rotations over there, Patchy, which now down to 8 squads. Down to 8 squads. Blinking and you miss.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll blink again and we'll be back down to 4 quite soon because we're about to see that zone just getting even smaller as it does. Team Reki has managed to make his way up here. Toxic just putting those shots in there. British has gone down. Nova getting thirsted as well. So the confirms are getting picked up left, right, and center. XO hiding in the smoke here. Toxic trying to push up into this YKI, also hiding in the smoke. That's honest, and Shroud just inside there trying to stay alive. Severe getting naded out of existence there. Mad just going a little bit mad with the nades and the pushes coming through. confirms are also getting picked up, and we're down to 7 teams. Just bit by bit, we're getting taken down one by one. But now, as you have a look at that zone in the map, it is absolutely minuscule now. Things are about to heat up seriously. You can see there's a few trees in the way, but I think that's about it. That's about all the teams are going to be getting in terms of cover. It's really just going to be a battle of who can win the aim fights, who can win the gun fights, who is able to utilize the resources that they have remaining at this point in time. And it doesn't look like anyone's got major control of the zone right now.
No, not at all, indeed. I mean, you have my clan who are in a good play, they're in buildings and so forth, but they're outside of zone. BC can't get Draken because he could risk himself in an open field area and one tree just to get the cover over there. Toxic actually getting Draken out of this one. And I'm looking at Toxic, and they actually pulled in only 3 players into their games over here, but they do have 5 eliminations, so sometimes the numbers don't really matter when it comes down to skill, because they definitely showing up to the party. I mean, if you look now at Raji, he picks up another knock over there. Here, my clan is trying to get that team wipe because they already got those 2 eliminations onto HORZ. 3 now, make it 3 as they do finally get another one off the team of their Neptune, picking up on Ricky. However, now Toxic is finding in that a little bit of a nail bite moment.
Yeah, it looks like Mad is actually a team to keep an eye on here. They seem to be picking up some good kills for themselves. Toxic also doing a really good job. 2 out of their 3 players, Unknown and Raji, still remaining. These guys certainly can pull something off here, despite having lower numbers. Pero putting the shots in, and is going to pick up the Thirst as well on towards Delusion. We've got 4 teams remaining now. We've got Toxic, we've got Mad, we've got Pero from XO, and of course Neptune from RDX. So right now, it looks like Mad is probably in the best position. They've got the numbers advantage. But the question is, can they go toe-to-toe with Unknown and Mr. Raji?
I mean, at this point, anything is physically possible for Toxic. I mean, they've done 7 eliminations as a trio, but now they get the opportunity where they can actually start to do beams, and Unknown doing exactly that. He gets one down, and Pikachu is going to find that one out of this one. There's Magic throwing in the grenade. Will it connect onto these players? And it doesn't. Unknown very much low on at this point. Mr. Raji finds himself knocked, and Magic and Odd Blast and Matic can make their play onto Unknown over here. Unknown needs to do the Unknown over here, Patchy, and come through with a mad clutch. And I don't think it's going to be happening as 2 players look at a POV. But look, does look like somehow a solo out in the works manages to pull in some placement points for them. And that is going to be 2nd place over there for Neptune. I don't think a 3v1 can come into play, but he does have some heightened position and can get in the beams, and he does so indeed. He gets one already. They are reviving the other player over there in the smoke screen, so Neptune does have somewhat of a advantage, if I may add to that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if he knows who the last 2 players are, because he did see this the 1 player now, but he's only spotted the last 2 now as he's moving down, so he's not able to engage them quick enough and gets caught out as he pushes down the mountain. So it's actually going to be that Mad finish right there. A nice pickup for them, certainly. I think I'll stick to my statement and say they are definitely a team to keep an eye on, picking up a good amount of kills there already. Looks like about 12 kills to their name, plus that chicken dinner, which is pretty good. RDX picking up that 2nd place, and Toxic coming in 3rd after having lost that fight there in towards the end. So yeah, quite a way to start things off. It was not hugely explosive in the beginning, but we had a little bit of testing the water. And yeah, we started to see some teams rise to the top.
I'm telling you, these Inkosi teams might be surprising you this weekend, Patchy. You can't sign them off for the time being. I mean, again, I remind you, the Inkosi teams were some of the most explosive teams we saw in Umzansi Season 4. Maybe not all of them, obviously came through to the finals that we're seeing this weekend, but a few of them made the work, made the change really happen, and that was just off of 1 season of Umzansi. Now imagine what new sort of generation of Inkosi players are going to be coming through and showing us this time.
Yeah, I agree. The explosiveness is one thing, but I think also what I said earlier comes more into play when it comes like, yeah, sure, explosive, but you need a long fuse as well. you kind of need to be able to
Absolutely.
bring that explosiveness over a little bit of an elongated period of time. Because what we did see from some of those Inkosi teams is they exploded very quickly, got very much to the top in round one, and in round two,
Mm.
started to run out of steam a little bit. So we got to keep our eyes out for those teams that can be consistent.
It's
Mm.
exactly that. And we've seen many teams, even Umzansi teams, they've had some amazing, amazing games. I mean, Influence Rage is one of them that comes to mind. Amazing, amazing games. They fall off, they come back, they fall off, they come back. And, they may coming through, yes. But it's stressful to watch teams like that actually, go to work, because you don't know if they're actually going to go through. You don't know if they're actually going to make it, because it is that consistency at the end of the day that have led teams like Zero Tolerance, like Slime 4KT, that have gone all the distance, because they stay consistent. They stay one of the teams to beat and stay one of the teams to fear when you're in the lobby with them. Ira, from your side, are the teams performing the way you would have expected them based off of the Inkosi season? Of course, now they're facing some of the teams from Umzansi, so it's a little bit of a different battleground.
I mean, going into that final zone, you had HORZ Esports, Mad Clan. Those are some of the Inkosi teams that had to come through, and they are definitely showing up to the party. I mean, if you look at those kill distribution from first to third, it's usually a huge gap from first to second in terms of how many kills are credited to that team. But 12, then going down to 6, and then it was 8, as you can see over here now on the leaderboard. So it's really still very much close between these teams. And look at the top 8, you look at that and you see a lot of the Inkosi teams already pulling through. So it's very much successful in terms of what you can expect from these teams and so forth. But there's still a very long way to go in terms of consistency, like Patchy has mentioned. And Mad Clan did show some consistency somewhat in the weeks of Inkosi, and they're just showing exactly what they're capable of doing going up against the Umzansi teams over here.
It's exactly that. This is where we start to compare. Okay, well, how many Inkosi logos are you seeing, and how many of the Umzansi teams are you seeing this time around? And yeah, Inkosi definitely taking the initial game there with quite a strike. We see about 5 teams on that top 8, with the rest of the 3, the rest of the 8 being 3 from Umzansi, being Toxic Esports, EXO, Redefined, and Black Crystal. Now, taking a look at the rest of the standings here, we start seeing a lot of the other teams that we've come to know and to love. I mean, Black Clover, also one of the teams that was recently promoted into Umzansi. Immortalz, weird to see them there. Ultra Six as well, and Comfy Six. This is where we start to pose that question: will they be some of the teams in the top 8 to move forward to Sunday's games? Because again, I remind you, if one of your teams are in the bottom 8 after today's games, then unfortunately that's that. Their Umzansi
Mm,
or their potential Umzansi career is done and dusted. So
mm.
they want to make sure that they do not end up on the last page of standings at the end of today's game. So, I mean, again, 4 games, that's a lot of opportunities to get there, right? That's a lot of opportunities to get some points. But it's that consistency that Patchy has mentioned. You can have one explosive game at the start of today, but if you don't continue that, then that's not going to be enough. In the meantime, we're going
Yeah.
to go to a short break. Of course, when we come back, it's going to be the second map of today, being Sanhok, a map that everyone knows and loves for that close quarter combat and that explosive energy. We'll see if the teams from Inkosi or Umzansi will be able to keep up with that energy. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome everyone back to the promotion relegation games for the Umzansi Esports League Season 4. Right, first game done and dusted. Erangel done and dusted. At least the first Erangel of the evening done and dusted. We can take a look at the standings just to remind you about what happened. But let's give a little bit of a summary here. Patchy, when we look at it, of course, we had a Mad Clan absolutely, well, following their name in suite, doing a madness, grabbing 12 kills, and of course the winner chicken dinner for 27 points. Some of the other teams not picking up as many kills. Toxic Esport, of course, being one of the teams to get the closest with those 8 kills, and then Royal Demo X. But ultimately, it's looking pretty good for Mad Clan, at least with the first game. But as you've mentioned, consistency is key. There's still 3 more maps left for this evening. Are there any other teams that you think are just sort of waiting to explode? Of course, those first game jitters, the pressure on everyone's shoulders. The first game is sort of where you kind of get that out of your system. Do you think there's other teams that have done that and now they're looking to get a little bit of revenge moving into Sanhok?
Yeah, it certainly might be the case. I did mention in game number 1 that Mad might be a team to keep an eye on, but it's exactly as you said, actually. It really is about that consistency, which is, I was waiting for you to kind of go off on something and be like, well, hold on a second. You can't go that far. We've still got a few games to go and we can't put all our eggs in one basket, but, you've just gone and done my job for me. So I guess all I've got to say is that, I think that the Umzansi teams certainly have a little bit more to show. But I think there are a couple of other teams that we could consider. I think Your Killer is potentially one of them. I do remember them being a squad that could do some pretty good things in the past. We've got our MVP, of course, coming through with 5 kills, 587 damage. It's Pikachu from Mad Clan, of course, picking up a considerable number of kills by themselves in that game, which is going to give them quite a number of points in the pocket. But when it comes to Sanhok, things are going to start to speed up. We were talking about comfortability and how the teams weren't really able to, get long periods of time to get comfortable. They sort of had to get comfortable really quickly. This is going to be the true test of that, because now they're going to get sent in and it's going to be like, these guys have to work. They have to be comfortable now. They have to get things going now. The playbook has to come out. We have to see what they have to offer, because this is not just a series for Umzansi teams getting potentially demoted down into Inkosi. It's about Inkosi teams potentially getting promoted to Umzansi, which means these guys have to showcase their skills. They've got to show us what's going on. They've got to show us if they're actually, the material that we're looking for to get up here. And if they want to prove that, this is where it is. Coming into Sanhok, we want to see how the teams manage this particular map. Can they manage the close range engagements? Do they know how to space out? That's a huge thing on this map. If you don't know how to space, you're going to get clapped, and you're going to get clapped quickly, because that blue zone comes in very, very fast. We've seen even some of the best teams in the region getting caught out by it sometimes. The difference between, the sort of kind of middle class and the higher class caliber players is that you'll see the higher caliber players, they know exactly how to space out so well that you will see them taking long range engagements on this map, right? Whereas generally a little bit lower than that, you might see a lot of CQC stuff where the teams will just be running into buildings and stuff will be going crazy. So it really is about, it is a test of skill to see whether these teams are actually prepared enough to get up to Umzansi, because they're going to need to be very capable when it comes to all of these maps. That's why we've got 4 of them. That's why it's a complete loop. We want to send these teams right through the grinder. We want to send them through the purification machine and see what diamonds they have to offer on the other side.
Yeah, and speaking of the grind, of course, for the top 8 from tonight, it doesn't mean it's over for them. It doesn't mean that they've secured their spot in Umzansi. They still have to come back on Sunday to face off the bottom 8 of tomorrow's game. So it's not over for them by any means necessary, but still they can't afford to keep, anything back. They can't afford to hold back whatsoever, because if they hold back, that might be it for them. That might be, for the Inkosi teams, that might have been their chance to get into Umzansi gone. That might be for the Umzansi teams, their stints in Umzansi done and dusted, their journey in Umzansi done and over. So for many of these teams, again, I urge you, if you're watching right now, please make sure you do your absolute best. You don't hold anything back. Alex, from your side, when we talk about promotion relegation games, what do you think of this sort of a structure? It's quite a grind. It's quite a grind.
It is indeed, and it's very much scary, like today especially, right? Because the bottom 8 it's goodbye to them, and these are worth weeks of grinding for. This is every week sort of coming in, especially for the Inkosi teams that are playing, because for them it's more for a grind to get into this position. You have to first and foremost qualify into the 3 matches of that day, and then stay consistent in those 3 matches, and repeat and rinse going further and further into the Inkosi. For Mzansi, it's more so a tough position as well. They didn't get to go automatically to finals, and now they're at the brink of actually joining that Inkosi sort of structure. And that there is a grind. It's I feel it's much more harder than Mzansi, because Mzansi you get to learn your oppositions, you get to adapt to your oppositions, and yes, at some point it's not going to be the most easiest thing battling against the likes of Slime 4KT and so forth. So for them, it comes down to learning, and maybe you as an individual you can get better. But in course, he's so inconsistent of who actually gets into those 3 games. Yes, you may get some good names that you fight in week out, week in, but that's because they're consistent themselves, and that's why they've come to this position where they can start to promote or de-relegate. And yeah, no, I expect this week to be sad and exciting for some of these teams, because we already might be seeing some sad teams tonight.
It is the grinder for a reason. This is the way the teams either get themselves into Umzansi, or unfortunately how their journey in Umzansi comes to an end. But Sanhok is getting ready, and it's always going to be a fun time when we head over to Sanhok. So I'm going to hand it over to our amazing casters. It's Patchy, it's ROG to take you through the action. Of course, I hope you are seated in your seats while our players are jumping out of theirs. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Proxy. Yes, I hope you guys are strapped into your seats, because these teams are definitely not. They are not strapped into their seats. They are plummeting through the sky at very ridiculously fast rates. Luckily, they do have parachutes, so do not be feared. For those of you at home, if you're going to jump out of a plane, do make sure that you have your parachute. And right now, we've got our teams heading down onto that Sandhawk and getting ready to make it happen right now. We do see a very nice zone dropping down into that map, so it's not going to be too difficult in terms of the first zone. But like I said earlier, it is going to be quite a difficult time on this map if the teams, struggle or fumble at being able to execute a well-planned strategy here on this map.
Yeah, definitely. Look who is going at bootcamp. You got X over there, and something about bootcamp that I've come to talk about is mentality wise. You think like the best teams land there, and the guys just ignore, like the other teams just ignore that spot, because there's always just one team landing there. How come we're not finding a more so it being a contested POI?
That is a good question. I feel like when it comes to this particular series, when it promotional relegation or series, it usually becomes a case of the teams try not to jump into those hotly contested areas, just because we've had it before where some of the teams kind of just dropped into the place where they always like to go.
Mm,
And some of them ended up dropping like two, three, four teams in the same location, and it can get really, really chaotic. And unfortunately, when it comes down to that,
mm,
it stops being about who can take a more skillful fight, and it kind of becomes about who's actually able to get to a weapon. Did the weapon spawn here? Is it a good weapon? Have I got ammo for it? That
true.
kind of stuff. Who can get to it quick enough? Can we set ourselves up in like 20, 30 seconds to try and take this fight? Are we out of position? A lot of the time, when you come out of that plane, if you don't get to the position that you were wanting by the time you get out of the parachute, it can be really difficult to try and get yourself into a good spot and then loot up
Mm,
and then still, find a good position to take the fight from. So it can become very chaotic. And it's actually
yeah,
kind of comparable to the end of the game, where you've started to run out of your positions, you've started to run out of cover, you've started to run out of utility, maybe your armor is damaged, you don't have any more
yeah,
nades,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So it really does become a little bit chaotic if you hot drop like that. So I think a lot of the teams do try to stay away from those hot contested zones just to give
Yeah.
themselves a little bit of extra space.
So, having said that, do you think X is very confident going into Sanhok? I mean, they're going headfirst into boot camp, knowing that these risks are available for these guys. They land there, say, well, if it's contested, it's contested. We're going in, but they are uncontested at this point. So do you think maybe we could potentially, because of that, knowing those risks, could have a winner chicken dinner coming out from such a team?
It's possible. At the very least, we know that they're confident. They have the confidence to go into boot camp and say, "All right, if this is contested, then it's fine. If it's not, it's fine." And that's actually the kind of mindset that I mean, that is the winner chicken dinner mindset. You go in
Yeah.
and you take a fight with whoever's in your way and you take them down. And it looks like they kind of have that mentality because even though they're inside the zone, it looks like they're actually leaving boot camp. So they've gotten in there. They saw that no one dropped there, so they looted up, and now they're moving down into an area where there's quite a few teams. So any other
Mm.
team may have decided, oh, you know what, we're in a good position. We've got boot camp. We can chill here for a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no,
yeah.
exercise. Let's get out of here. Let's
That's
move down. Let's
crazy.
see if we can go and pick a fight. I like that.
It's crazy, man. Who decides so early on to start making the moves onto the players over here? And you have Mad Clan sort of going through a pit of hell over here as Chaos is already distributed on the bridge. They're dealing the damage. 3 players have already been knocked out of Mad. And Sanhok not really looking favorite for the team that had managed to pull in a spectacular winner chicken dinner. There they go, out and dusted within seconds.
Oh, what a misplay there. Just a little bit over eager. No scout to see anything on that bridge. They just got completely caught off guard there, not expecting that at all, which
Mm,
is unfortunate to see. And this is exactly what I was talking about, when I said we're looking
mm,
for
mm.
consistency. I mean, this team clapped almost a 30-point game. I think they dropped 27 in game number one. Now they go out first in game number two. That's exactly what we're talking about here. We need consistency. If you're going to take chicken dinners, you better be taking, top three, top five if you want to stay consistent. Otherwise, if you're going first and then going out
Mm.
last, or if
Yeah.
you're going to get the chicken dinner and then go out first, should I say, it's not going to be a very easy time for you because you mentioned it earlier, but this is the end of the road for some of these teams today. It's not
Mm.
going to be an easy one. These teams need to get stuff going, and I mean, you would think that it would make sense to at least play it a little bit safer after you secured that chicken dinner, but maybe they were riding the wave off the confidence and just going, all right, we can go for it. And just decided not to scout out the bridge, not to really see where they were going. But this is why
Yeah,
you've got to
yeah.
watch the road, Ira. You've got to watch the road
Yeah,
ahead.
definitely. It's crazy that you mentioned things like consistency, the option where how long does the explosion last for and so forth. And then we witnessed Mad Clan doing exactly what you talk about because you got to look for material in some of these teams, and just Mad Clan threw that material out the window with such a underperforming game coming out of that. Like you mentioned, it's all about scouting, and you see that a lot of the times coming out from Umzansi, a player just going ahead of the group, the pack, and just scouting their way forward, and then making the decision to rotate straight, left, or right if there was anything sort of spotted out. But for them, it was driving quickly into that bridge and. For Chaos, that was a gift for them because they were there already. They were already making those rotations, and the formation that they already had in terms of a couple plays on the bridge and outside of the bridge meant that there was no cover at all for Mad Clan, and they just had to get eliminated in the weirdest form of matter over there. But we are seeing MZR, who didn't perform too well game number one, already having 2 of their players eliminated very early in the game. There's been one full squad out and eliminated, so still placement points is quite scarce right now, but hopefully MZR can go in for that, placement points like we did see coming out from Neptune. I highly doubt it being this early in the game that they can pull off a miraculous rotation where they're not really spotted out in these tough situations.
You mentioned just earlier that you recall seeing Umzanzi employing some of those scouting tactics and whatnot. I'm glad you said that because earlier on, just before we started this game, you were throwing some flames to my boys over at Umzanzi. You were saying some things about them, saying that Inkosi is a superior format. Listen, I got to defend my boys a little bit here. So I'm glad that you've, spotted out that over at Umzansi, we got some strats in the pocket. We know what's going on.
Yeah,
We got some solid teams and players going on up there. It's not a ball. It's not a walk in the park. We got some good teams
definitely,
up in there.
definitely. Like it gets competitive. Don't mind me. It gets competitive in Umzansi, especially when those consistent teams stay in Umzansi and they learn the meta, they learn what's best at them, and like every season, like you've mentioned, this season being the most competitive. Season 5 will be the most. Season 6, and that's because players evolve, players learn, players adapt to maybe Black Crystal, who's gonna now go into Umzansi, and maybe their strat is better than what Slime 4KT potentially did, and Slime 4KT learns that, evolve it, do it in their own style, and then it becomes better, and you just see much more, more A-class gameplay. As where in Corsi, it's more of a mess, but in a mess where it's so hard to get into it and to clean it up and stay consistent in a waveform that you're playing literally amongst 198 teams on that day, and only the top two, whatever the case may be, qualifies into the 3 games, where you then pick up those 3 games to stay consistent on the leaderboard week in and week out. It's so hectic, man. Both in both leagues, in Zanzi and in Kosi.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. It's not a walk in the park. This is no candy eating competition right here. It is serious gameplay. These teams are fighting for quite a prize right now. They're fighting to fight for the prize, because right here is where they fight for that Umzansi spot, which is a fight
Mm.
for this season, which is quite a considerable prize pool. I mean, we're talking about a total prize pool for season 4 overall for like $15,000, of which some goes to FIFA, but of course most goes over to that PUBG segment where things get absolutely insane. And speaking of insane, we've got a little bit of a fight going on here. We got our Black Crystal team right up in here. Exo Redefined trying to make it happen, trying to get that defense going. British moving on with that UMP in hand. Is going to start storming the building there. Everything is on fire. British getting set alight there, has to get back in with the HP, but they're still on the offensive no matter what. Exo Redefined just pushing straight through the building, finding the angles and winning the fights. Fight off the fight goes their way, and they will clean up the Black Crystal squad. Exo Redefined taking a nice win in that compound.
I actually think it's Black Clover. If I looked at that leaderboard, I think.
Is it?
I don't. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. I think
Okay.
it is Black Clover. Hopefully, we
Yeah, we
are
have
not
two
wrong.
BC teams, and
Yeah.
it's confusing.
It is Black Crystal and Black Clover, but nonetheless, EXO pulling up to the party with a 3-man, getting the 4 kills. They had played that very well in that eliminations and gameplay. So I think now we do have Black Crystal up at Paradise Resort, I think. And they're making the rotations. They seem to be the only one out of this one, as well as Toxic somewhat going in for those late rotations, the blue zone rotations. It is seen quite a lot in Sanhok, but like you mentioned, it can eat you up quickly. If you're not playing it quite well, or you're playing it too early, you'll find yourself being howled out of zone because of the teams that already position themselves on the white wall of the safe zone, etc. And yeah, Sanhok is something that playing in blue zone, you must understand the risks, because we've seen so many teams get howled, we've seen so many teams get eliminated, and some of the teams actually trying to adapt to other rotations that we get to see from other teams, but they still get eliminated some way, some form. And I'm liking how we have a good early rotation from most of the teams that we have here in Sanhok, which is good. Yes, we're down to 12 squads and 43 players, but it's looking amazing.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. You definitely want to make sure your rotates come in early on this map. You do not want to get caught out in that blue zone here, because it can trip you up way too quickly. And sometimes we see a lot of teams just being unable, like physically just unable to get back into zone, and that can happen a lot of the time. So if you're gonna play with the blue zone, I always have to say you got to have your re-entry strats to a T, because there was actually quite a lot of conversation around this in previous seasons, and there was some a little bit earlier as well, where a lot of teams and a lot of people were talking to me about, blue zone strats. What about blue zone strats? What about this? What about that? And we actually did see season 4. We did see a couple of teams trying to use a few blue zone strats earlier on, and even later on in the season, a few of those healing strats. But ultimately, I always say it's not actually about the blue zone strat itself. It's always about the re-entry strat. Can you get back into zone? What's your plan to make it back? Do you have a capable attack sort of strategy? Because just getting into a car and driving as quickly as you can doesn't work. You get beamed out of that car very, very quickly. You've got to make sure you can
Definitely.
take a fight with someone who's waiting on the edge of that zone and trying to gatekeep you. You've got to be ready for it. So that's always the the question when it comes to that. I usually say try and execute the regular strats first before you try something like that out. But to each their own. Everyone has their own strengths and whatnot. For now, as you mentioned, most of the teams look like they're quite happy to get into that zone nice and early and make sure they've got some good positioning there. We did see X's drop boot camp very, very early on, and then they moved south of boot camp, and they're actually still there. So their positioning
Yeah, they
has been
haven't
quite
moved.
favorable in the zone. They've just not had to move anywhere. They're just like, yeah, cool, we'll
I
stay
don't
here.
know. I don't know if they looted the entire boot camp though, because that was quick. They were in and out of boot camp, didn't waste any time, and we actually thought they were going to position themselves on W keen, but they
Mm,
just stayed there.
yeah. Yeah, I was hoping that they would take a few more fights and maybe get there a little bit more. Stop picking a fight with somebody in the nearby. I thought maybe HORZ they were going to take a fight with or someone in the nearby vicinity, but no, they haven't taken a fight with anyone just yet. They're quite happy to just chill south of boot camp. But now the zone has shifted over towards Painan, and this is where things start to get nice and interesting because you can see most of the teams are in the same direction, up towards the northeast, up towards the northwest. Got a couple of teams moving in and they're about to say hello to one another, whether it's rotating past or trying to occupy the same vicinity or try to push past. It's gonna be a little bit of a close quarters match now because we're running out of space very, very quickly here.
Definitely, and space is being seen present over here has YKI gets an elimination over there and confirmation as well. But let's see exactly. This is the teams that you mentioned, could potentially be turning things around for Sanhok.
Yeah, yeah, your killer is. I called them out a little bit earlier because I think they do have some potential here, and I really hope that they show up a little bit in terms of that because it would be a little bit embarrassing if they didn't make something
Mm.
happen after I mentioned them by name. But we will see. We will see. Squeak is watching them from this little hut down towards the bottom of the screen here as is moving up that mountain very, very slowly, putting a little bit of pressure on. We see a few magical rainbow bars in front of our face, just reminding us that we're playing for that pot of gold at the end, which is the goal here at this point in time. Your killer is just slowly moving up that mountain, taking position after position. Just getting a little bit of extra space here. We'll see if they can actually utilize it because they need to get inside that zone. But ahead of them is a couple of teams, actually. There's two teams right up ahead. RDX taking a fight there with EXO Redefine and Triple Three fighting over with X. So things are getting a little hot here on the map now.
It is, and when it's in Sanhok, a small map, close combat action is what is, the play, and the rotations are sitting out for some of these guys, and there's just not that available room. YKI is just playing it slow over here. They have the numbers advantage, but ahead of them is just an open playing field, and you can see Squeak exactly doing that, getting eliminated over there, getting an elimination over there onto one of the players. They can still go in for the revive, but I think they have turned things around now as Squeak is tagged up quite a bit, and you can see Shroud strafing left, right, and center. He gets that elimination, not even tagged up, he knows exactly where to shoot. He gets that elimination quick, and Shroud and Squeak actually with a grenade in hand actually kills himself. But now you got Hail Finny
Oh
Bro
no.
who's doing the damage, and oh, look at this, there's everyone across Chaos also getting involved in the third party. How is YKI gonna make it out of this one though?
Oh no. Cast a curse has been placed. I'm sorry, your killer is. I'm sorry, guys. I did not I did not intend to do that, but now they've been caught out of the blue zone. Fedimo trying to make it up. He's doing the sprint. Luckily, the blue zone hasn't done too much damage to him, but he's still very low on
Oh,
HP. Instantly nailed from the top of the hill. And that is, of course, what you would expect. Blood getting up that kill and just picking it up super quick as the team scramble to try and get into the safety of the zone. It's about 250 meters across, maybe less. And look at these
oh,
shots just coming in. No chance for re-entry,
oh.
no chance for the rotate. These teams are ruthless. And of course, it's toxic right here on your screen, trying to take possession of a bit of that Yeah, a little bit of that space, trying to make sure that they keep their eyes on anyone trying to rotate around, keeping their presence known. EXS also making some things happen here. We've got a lot of fighting up towards the north. Black Crystal or Black Clover taking a fight with EXO Redefined. They get absolutely annihilated there. And speaking of annihilation, look what's happening in Pine 9. EXS taking the fight, but they're losing HP very, very
Ooh.
quickly. And that nade absolutely sending a couple of their players there. This is a bit of a back foot that they find themselves on, because I think they're taking a fight with a couple of teams here in this position, and those nades are just
Ooh.
coming in bit by bit.
Yeah, no, not a position you want to find yourself in, but luckily, not a full 100 damage onto the player getting the revives, because that is a crucial position you want to find yourself in. They're still alive, they're still making the rotations into Painan or into the safer circle. If you look all the way to the west, there's literally no cover, but besides some trees, I'm pretty sure that their players do have out of there. So MZR and a couple of teams out of there just going to be in tough position. HORZ actually have what seems to be the better positioning, and X making the rotations in right now, being a bit late on this one, is going to find himself getting somewhat in a tough position, as Vibe is actually doing most of the damage over here and hoping that he can get the confirmation onto Echo over there. And yeah, there we go, finally doing so and picking up those kill points. MCR actually killing Toxic Mr. Raji, who was so successful in their previous game, and Neptune as well. We had to see Neptune coming in second place and clutching in placement points. But now RDX do have the entire squad with them going into the final sort of rotations that we have. And if you see Dagger all the way in zone, very early in zone as well, he's going to be trying his level best to try and make it into the next zone over here. And I speak about Neptune, but Neptune does get knocked over there. But let's see exactly how he can last in this one over here.
Yeah, Vibe is just going to get eliminated there towards the side of that zone. That's Black Clover getting taken out one by one. Dagger still trying to survive on top of that mountain. It is not going to last him very long. HORZ trying to make that dash up into safety as the blue zone is creeping in bit by bit. EXS also finding themselves up into try and get into the zone. RDX also finding themselves in a very tough spot. I don't think they're even going to be able to make it up with 6 zones deep, moving in towards 7. That's a lot of damage to try and contend with at the moment. And this is exactly what we talk about when it comes to Sanhok. It is just chaos trying to outrun the zone, trying to get to safety, trying to keep yourself alive here. Everything going sparkles as all these teams are getting eliminated one by one. They are seeing stars getting sent back to that lobby. 5 teams remaining, 10 players left alive. Dagger trying to out heal this blue zone and keep Black Clover's dreams alive, but out healing that blue zone is not something that you can do reliably, and they get eliminated, and so does HORZ, just instantly taken out as they try and move across, no cover, and they just get taken out. 3 teams now remaining as our friend Huzaifa is making it work. He's crawling up at the top of this mountain with the rest of his clan, making sure that it happens, taking a little bit of damage. EXS, that's Skya on the other side there, putting a few shots in his direction, but they have alerted the rest of the team here. Zypher calling in reinforcements, making sure that the insolence gets punished there. A little bit more damage done to him, but he stays alive, and the positioning is pretty good here for this team. If they can push Skya, they've got a free entry, a free ticket into zone. This should be an easy one. It looks like the 2 remaining players, the 2 lone wolf players on this team are trying to take a fight with each other. Skya did put a couple of shots in towards him, but now he's nading over in towards Firezer. Could be a difficult one. It's a 1v3. I'm not even sure if this is going to make it work. HORZ actually taking a lot of damage there. He's going down very, very soon if he's not careful. Sky is still full HP here. These guys need to push him. Minato needs to get into position. Elimination coming in for our 1 lone wolf player, leaving it all down to Sky. And I'm not sure the 1v3 is really on the cards here. The nade didn't really do too much in towards Pfizer there, getting back into full HP, no problem. But the shots are definitely coming through. The Molotov barely missing Skya. Staying alive, but for how much longer is the question? Shots coming in. Pfizer takes it down, but there we go. The confirm comes through. Definitely not a 1v3 that should have been lost there. So Chaos making sure they keep it, they lock it down, and they get that chicken dinner well played.
Yeah, and they played so well last game as well. Just a little bit unfortunate to get eliminated at a early stage for them. But winner chicken dinner here. X Skya did the work for himself. He outlived MZR Clutcher with in terms of getting that second place position. He did try his level best, and he did do the most for his team. 3 kills coming out from Skya over there, and a total 5 kills for X. Amazing stuff coming out from that scene over there.
Yeah, I don't think a 1v3 normally goes the way that we'd like it to see. We've seen some crazy clutches in Umzansi quite recently, but I don't know. I feel like everything was just going in perfect synchronization for those teams, and the players had everything going for them at that time. And unfortunately for Skya, just surrounded at every single angle. There was a player looking to take them out completely. So I think ultimately surviving to that point was good enough. We'll see how the scores are going to be lining up, of course. And Patchy, we were talking about consistency. We were talking about, listen, you can have an amazing, explosive game and you can do really well in one map. But if you don't keep that up, it's not going to count. And I did see, our team from the first game, Mad, unfortunately not do so well in Sanhok.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there. I mean, it is exactly that. The test is consistency. We even say that up in the Umzansi League. It's the same thing, and it's been that way pretty much for every season that I can think of. It is about that consistency, because you do get some teams that can really drop incredible games. I mean, just absolutely insane games. They'll take a chicken dinner, 30 points, maybe even more. But then, they'll drop off straight after that. And if that happens, it's like, okay, well, yeah, it was a good performance. It was a really great game. They showed their colors a little bit of that shining diamond inside. But ultimately, if we don't see it again, it doesn't really matter. If a team gets 35 points in a single game, even 40 points in a single game, which is something we don't see very much or at all, even if that were to happen and a team were to drop 40 points in a game and then never again, that's still not as good as a team dropping 15 points, but every game. 10 points every game. Because if you get a couple of points like that, you get 15 points, 1, 2, 3, 4 games, you're starting to build things up. If you can stay in that place, then you're going to be keeping yourself at least in contention. You're going to be keeping yourself on the board and making sure you don't drop out. Whereas, sure, you put 40 points on the board and then never do anything like that again. It's like, okay, you're just going to get overtaken. So, yeah, that really is the case. You can see Mad sitting all the way down in 16 with no points, having gone out first there. So it is a bit unfortunate for them. Unfortunately, your killer is a little bit cursed there in that game, weren't able to find the points they were looking for, but at least they got some together. The daunting task, of course, ahead is just to get more, because, as we were pointing out, these games absolutely matter, because they're still around after this that the teams have to get to try and get out of the promotion relegation phase.
It's exactly that. And I mean, taking a look at it, again, we've always said that in Umzansi, we've always said that in Inkosi as well. The only way that they get to this point is through consistency. The only way that they can get through this is to obviously survive, but it's a grinder for a reason. We want to see who is the best of the best, of course, and see who deserves to head through to Umzansi. Taking a look at our MVP, it's Clutcher Bay coming through from MZR Esports Africa with 6 kills, 565 damage, and a total survival time of 21 minutes and 2 seconds. So again, I mean, a simple example, right? We saw MZR taking, of course, not necessarily the best placement points. They only got 10, but they took 10 kills as well on top of that, tying with our winner chicken dinners, team. So look, I want to see who's going to be the most consistent team tonight. I want to see who's going to be in that top 8 moving forward to Sunday's games. And unfortunately, we are going to have to see who's going to be the bottom 8 that we're going to have to say goodbye to. And hopefully we'll see them in the next season of Inkosi coming back, staying consistent, and hopefully still fighting for that opportunity. But for the time being, of course, you know how it is. We're going to go to a short break while we set up the third map of the evening. Not the last map, but only the third map, as we head over to Miramar, and then it will be Erangel after that. So still plenty of action in this promotion relegation grinder for Umzansi Season 4. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the promotion relegation grinder for Umzansi Season 4. Now, second map of the day, done and dusted. We're not going to the last map, though. I have to remind you, there's 4 maps today for opportunities for our teams to potentially get some points and get up onto those standings. Speaking of standings, let's just remind you about what happened in Sanhok while we take a look at said standings. Patchy, take us through it. What did we see? What did we experience?
Yeah, we experienced a couple of things. We saw a lot of teams running away from the blue zone, desperately trying not to get swallowed by its insatiable jaws. But that is what the blue zone does most of the time. We expect it to do that. We saw some teams putting on some good points. I see a nice tie between Chaos and MZR, which is cool. That means there are teams that are putting on some points, but again, it's about that consistency. But that's what we're looking for. Exusia getting 17, of course, Black Clover and HORZ getting 12 and 11. So double digits up until 5th position was pretty good. EXO redefined very close to those double digits with the 9 points there. And of course, World Demo X getting 7 and Company 6 getting 4. And it's important to notice every single score that we get on this scoreboard right now, because we alluded to it earlier, or at least we sort of said it outright earlier, but ultimately, when we're looking for who's actually going to make it out of today, that's exactly what it is. It's like only some people can actually make it out of today. Only some of the teams will be making it out into the next round. So we really are looking at every single score that these teams are getting. Killer is scraping together a couple of points as well. We got Toxic getting 2, G3 Mac getting 2, and of course EST getting 1. The rest of the teams coming away with nothing. Mad coming away with 0 off the back of game 2, as we saw, which is probably the biggest fall from grace that we've seen so far in the promotion relegation series, although it is only the first day, so of course there's that. But ultimately, starting it out with a bang and then going out first in the second game is a bit of a tough one. I think Mad Clan will probably want to come back from that one a little bit. We at least have, a few more maps coming up. So of course, map number 3 is here. We've got Miramar coming up very soon, and then after that, we've got another Erangle. If you don't know the format, if you weren't yet to catch that earlier, that is what we're doing. So let's have a look at that overall leaderboard right now. Mad still on the top after having dropped that 27-point game. Certainly will keep you going for a little while, but they are not ahead of the pack by much because they weren't able to put any more points on in game 2. So they are closely followed by Royal Demo X, Chaos, and MZR. Exusia not too far behind either. Toxic and EXO redefined quite close on their heels too. HORZ getting in 8th position there, 17 points. So not too bad for a good in terms of a start. But we really are trying to separate out the top 8 from the bottom 8. And so looking into the next 8 teams, we're going to have a look at Killer is Black Clover, Black Crystal, Comfy 6, G3 Mac, EST, Immortalz, and Ultra 6. And I don't think those bottom 2 teams, I'm not too sure if I've seen them playing. I don't think they are.
No, haven't seen them as well.
That's a bit unfortunate there. Not really getting into it to put the points on the board. Not too sure what's happening there. Might have been a bit of a disband, or perhaps they just chose not to try again, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I certainly think that they could have made something happen here in this promotion relegational series, but it is what it is. You've got to give the teams a chance. You've got to give them a chance to see what they can do and see if they can make it up into Umzansi. And I think it is definitely going to be interesting to see, because I actually wanted to comment on it a little bit earlier in the previous game, but the team that won that game, it actually seemed like they were a little bit hesitant to take the 3v1. There was one player left, and they didn't really just like all dive. They were like throwing nades and throwing mollies, and they were kind of like, whatever. And then one of their players got taken out. Yeah, a little bit cautious. It's like, you're gonna need to turn that up just a little bit if you want to, if you want to get up the flames, pick up the pace. So gotta make some of those decisions.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit risky at the end of the day, because we've mentioned it before. So I mean, the team that actually won that chaos, so they got the full points for in terms of placements, but they only got 5 kills. So again, they were tied with another team that only came 3rd but had 10 kills. And we said this before, placements can only take you so far. The way that you extend that point gap, the way that you extend yourself, or at least sort of make you stick out from the rest, is by those kill points. That's the only way that you can really, pad those points at the end of the day. And when we were looking at those overall standings, if you look at the bottom page, the bottom of the first page versus the top of the second page, it's about 5 points difference. That's not much. That's nothing, in fact. So there's still plenty of opportunities for those teams to actually get themselves into safety, get themselves into that top 8, and potentially we might see them again on Sunday. As we've mentioned before, the bottom 8 of tonight's games are out. done and dusted. Their opportunity for Mzansi is out the window. Whereas the top eight will go through to Sunday's games, not through to Mzansi season 5, but to Sunday's games for an opportunity to potentially go to Umzansi. So this is really, it's a grinder. There's a reason we call it the grinder. There's a reason we refer to it as the gauntlet. There's a reason we refer to it as absolutely grueling matches, because it doesn't stop. You can't let up for even a second, or unfortunately, that's it. You're done. You're dusted. We won't be seeing you in Umzansi season 5. We'll maybe see you in Inkosi season 5 if you want to have a chance again there. But we've said this before. Inkosi is also no joke. Ira, we mentioned it on stream. You know, the fact is, we've had hundreds and hundreds of teams register week after week after week, but only 16 to 20 of them get to go through to the games, get to actually play for those points. And at the end of all those 8 weeks, we tally up the points, and only the top 8, you know, or the top 16 in this case, have an opportunity to play for a spot in Mzansi. I mean, it's better than it was in previous seasons, but it's rough, man. What do you think about it? That's fine. I'll ask you that question a little bit later again. But actually, we've mentioned it before. Inkosi it's rough, man. It's rough. I feel very sorry for teams coming back week after week, because not only do you have to stay consistent, but you have to take a beating every single week, and you might make it, you might not make it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is how you do it. You know, that's how you refine metals and make, you know, a good quality product out of it. You send them through the fire and you refine them again and again and again. So yeah, send the teams back in, you know, put them through that grind, like, you know, make sure they get into it, give them that pounding, you know, like it's difficult. You're right. It is difficult, but we want the best of the best, and we want to send them up, and that's why Mzansi keeps getting more difficult and more difficult and more difficult, because it is just such a tough time through and through from start to finish. And yeah, that's what we like. That's exactly what we're looking for season after season, and that's why we're here in the promotional relegation series as well.
Looking for the best in Africa for PUBG Mobile. So talking about the best, let's go over to Miramar. Patchy, you can take us through this. Let me know, where are the patchy points this time around? I need to know. So tell the viewers, and I'm gonna hand it over to our amazing casters. It's Iro, it's Patchy to take you through the action for our second last map of the day. Guys, take.
There it is. Thank you so much. We're going to head into map number 2. It is Miramar. We're heading in from the east to the west on that very nice flight path over in towards El Pozo. We can have a look and see how these teams deal with those long range engagements and see what they have to offer here in map number 3.
Oh no, it's gonna be interesting. Definitely going to be an interesting perspective coming out from the game number 3 in terms of how things are looking at in the way first game and second game has sort of already played out. The way first game went out, you know, you had Mad Clan win that game with such consistent gameplay that they stole first off the dying of spawn in second game at Sanhok, and Sanhok was just not really in a position of, you know, what we had expected for Mad Clan. We were hoping that the consistency would have been amazing coming out from that team, but unfortunately, it just didn't really work out for them, and you know they found themselves getting eliminated very early. But Chaos then came through, and they came through with a huge pop off where they managed to actually win the game, and that was superb out of them. So let's see exactly what this really looks like. That zone pool is very, very horrendous for some of these guys. They have a massive rotation coming in from, you know, the likes of um, Chaos and so forth. So let's see exactly what will be going into the next one here, Patchy.
Slanted zone over there, and of course, right off the back, we have got HORZ moving in and just picking up a quick kill here onto Magic, taking him down and sending him straight out there. A nice quick kill to add into the back pocket. Just off on that one. So good to start things out nice and strong and to get a couple of points for oneself. And that's what you got to do here on a Miramar. You got to take those fights, take those engagements especially now with the zone being so, all the way over towards the western side. You really got to get moving, especially if you're in Al Hazahar, like a few of these teams are all the way on the eastern side there. So they've got to make their way on in super quick. And, well, hope that that zone does not get taken all the way onto that unplayable terrain, because it has happened before where the zone goes all the way towards the west and actually, you're not able to play on there. And so the teams just have to fight it out until the blue zone washes over. Hopefully that does not happen. And of course, to answer the question, where are the patchy points here on this map? It is, of course, going to be down in the south on that island, because no one ever drops there. No one ever goes there. And I could see why. It's not exactly the most strategically strong spot on the map, but certainly that's exactly why you get the patchy points for it, because no one ever goes there, and that's basically the criteria there. If no one ever goes there, it's probably a good spot to get patchy points. In any case, so far we've only had a couple of eliminations here and there. Nothing too crazy. The teams making sure that they are staying relatively safe early on, giving themselves an opportunity to loot up and get themselves ready and equipped for the fights that will most certainly be taking place in the very, very close future. And we'll just have to wait and see. This map can sometimes take a little bit long. It is one of those maps where things could potentially be drawn out just a little bit. But that is really all up to the players. It's them, it's on them to make the initiative. It's on them to get things going. And so if they don't, well, the map does take a little bit longer. But we just have to wait and see. Wait for these teams to start to get things going. So far, I see a couple of potential spots where that could happen. A few teams could get nice and close. Unfortunately, when it comes to Miramar and you take a look at that map, it does it can be a little bit deceitful. It looks like a lot of the teams are close, but they're actually not that close. There is a pretty decent distance in between them. So even if they look like they're right on top of one another, there could still be a decent amount of distance between them. So the Miramar map is a little bit deceptive in that way. For now, though, we'll just have to wait and see what is going to be the decision of these teams. We've really taken them through the motions here today. We started on Erangel. It's a bread and butter map here for PUBG Mobile. It is the staple map. Every team needs to have a good, solid strat book. Has to be very experienced with Erangel, because it is just a solid staple map for PUBG Mobile. It is incorporating all of the close quarter, all of the long range, all of the strategic movements, everything that you could possibly look for is there. When you move on to Sanhok, of course, it is a little bit closer. So we've taken these teams through that CQC style gameplay. We've put them through the motions and really tested them in the fire. And then, of course, now we find ourselves here on Miramar, where the long-range engagements are key. And the other thing that is key here on this map is, of course, the tempo. Because if you don't pick up pace, if you don't go looking for the fights generally don't come to you. So things can really start to get slow and stale here on this map right up until the end game. And so if you really want things to happen, you've got to make them happen yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Miramar comes down to the better positioning, I would say, in those rotations. It's such a huge map, and when you do have the angles positioned onto the players, especially when you're on height, like we do see, there's a lot of terrains, higher terrains here in Miramar. You do tend to see players go off due to those snipers and long range shooting that we get to see, and it's a slow one, right? Off spawn, mid game, very slow rotations due to how huge the map is. A lot of space to sort of work with. Hopefully, we get to see the action sort of alight for us, and who is the most strategic player in the Miramar, because it comes down to that.
Yep, absolutely. And right now we see Minato putting a couple of shots in towards Psycho, but that quick vehicle flip, blocking a few of those bullets and keeping him alive, so he's able to get out of that situation super quick. And Chaos not going to pick up any free kills there. They've got control of this compound, but right now what you can see is the teams are slowly starting to centralize, which is what I like to see. This is good on a map like Miramar, where things can take a lot of time and the distance can get quite big. getting centralized in the map is a really good way to position yourself well and very close to a place where you could pick up some kills, because most of the teams are going to be there. You're in a good spot. You can catch out if you rotate, maybe pick a fight with somebody, get some kills. That's where you want to be, in the position to actually get the kills. And also, being in the middle of the zone is the best strategic position to be in, because you're going to be super close either to the next zone, or you're going to be in the next zone already, which is most of the time. So it is a really, really good spot to be in. And yeah, it's good to see the teams utilizing that strategy. It just, every single time we get into this promotional relegation or series, you see these teams just getting better and better and better.
Definitely, and it's always good to sort of read that gameplay, get to see it sort of evolve, and it's even a better story as if they started at the bottom and now they sort of make their way all the way to the top, to promotion relegation. Some teams even to finals, etc. Even to making it to winning the entire thing. It's just amazing to see. And you've been in Umzansi for the longest time. Out of the promotion as well as going into finals, who is your favorite teams in the Mzansi?
Ooh, that for this season or for any
This
season?
season. This season.
For this season, I think. That's actually a tough one, because there were a couple of teams that I thought were really good to see come up in them. I
Mm.
think probably now seeing Solo and 7AOK drop off, because actually, if you'd asked me earlier, I would have probably said Solo. Now,
Mm-hmm.
having seen them drop off in the way they did, I
Mm.
I think C Esports is probably a team that I think has been quite good, at least early on, and they were able to really throw a few slingshots into the mix. There is one other team, but their name is escaping me, and I
Mm-hmm.
should know this because I've literally been watching them for the for the last how many months, but I literally cannot remember their name,
uh,
because they sort of got overwritten by zero tolerance and sort of you know
mm.
uh, as they started to take over in the last leg of the second round. So my mind is kind of dwelling on them at the moment. But
Yeah.
in any case, for now, we will take a look and see what is going on here. I do have to agree, though. I think the Inkosi teams coming up every single time, they just get better and really do bring up the overall skill level and really challenge some of the teams. So far though, I still think I'm a bit more Mzansi favored. I think the Mzansi teams will be able to come out swinging here in the promotion
Mm.
relegational series. But with that said, I would absolutely love it if we again saw something like the Inkosi teams coming up with a team that just blows people out of the water and gets up into the Umzansi League and starts, shaking tables, as Dr. Sid likes to say. So that would be really,
Honestly,
really cool.
honestly, I did mention undisputed Africa, and like that for me, when I watched them, I always like talked about Mzanzi and how their strategy would work so well. And I hope we get to see their gameplay and you get to see exactly what I'm talking about in the weekend or finals, whatever the case may be, with them, because they were top of the charts in their table, but they way they played it out and the way they just did it in an uncultured manner to the Inkosi teams that we spectate now, and the teams that have made it to the stages that we find them in. It's just been different. It's just been so amazing to see them how they play, and I hope you get to see that talent and maybe compare it to Mzanzi as well.
Yeah, that would be quite cool. It would be nice to see some Nkosi teams really coming up there and showing us what they got. Really just clapping some waves in the pool, as it were. In any case, moving on into the next couple of zones, the teams have decided to centralize quite a lot. Really good to see. The spacing is pretty good as well. So I'm liking that coming out of the teams. It's good to see them keeping a good distance between them and their opponents. That means that they are still utilizing the long ranges that Miramar provides. They're not just
Mm,
foregoing that. A lot of the mistakes that actually come out of a map like Miramar is, and this is kind of a hallmark of a team that is not as experienced. A lot of the time, they might try and force a unnatural engagement on Miramar, like try and get up close and personal unnecessarily, and it can come back to haunt them. especially if they don't recognize the potential threats of the long range engagements that come through on Miramar. So it's good to see that the teams are very, very aware of that, not making any of those blunders earlier on. In some earlier seasons that we had, I do remember that in the promotional relegational series, it was sometimes really difficult to watch some of the teams making big, big mistakes that would cost them. But now
Mm.
it's definitely improved quite a lot. I mean, these teams are cutting down those mistakes quite drastically, and certainly exercising a very good understanding and utilization of these maps here. So that's good. You can see that zone has decided to shift up towards the north. That's going to send a couple of the teams on the way on the road to get that rotation through, but it's not too
Yeah.
difficult. A lot of those teams still inside the zone, but it's very much south sided at the moment.
And everyone just has vehicles, right? Everyone's knowing this strategy going into Miramar is that mobility is very crucial, and they just come in hot, blazing. And just look at X. However, they make their rotations into G3 or triple three that we have right here. Echo gets eliminated. Skya is kind of knocked in their position. It's Zelgod and Kaido is making it. And look at Glock. Glock may potentially come into this one, being that he's in a good position to actually deal the damage, and he does so indeed. Gets in there, gets involved, and it's now all down to Zalgard to clutch up. And I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. It's a 4v1, and he's gonna get storm rolled anytime now. You see up on the mountain over there as well, MZR as well has EST and HORZ all in a sort of triangle battle.
Yeah, having a look and seeing that battle up ahead, and then of course taking a look at X is not a good position here for them, rolling up to this compound, getting eliminated, and now Zelgod the last one here trying to stay alive, but it's a 1v4. But it does seem like Triple Three know that if they try and push further in, they could get third party, and they don't want to open themselves up to that, so they're just going to wait and bide their time for the time being. They're just going to leave Zelgod to his own devices for now. In the meantime, they will take some pot shots towards other teams out in the far distance. You can see RDX taking a few bits of damage there as Gorilla taps away with that Mini 14, tries to get a bit of damage done. Certainly does accomplish a little bit of it, at least. You can see MZR up on top of that hill is just keeping a weather eye out. Zelgod knows he can't really peek out from the spot. Has popped the smoke to make sure that his backside is mostly covered. Has to be careful, though. Still in a very dangerous spot. Triple Three still mostly concerned with the other surrounding teams more than anything else. But they are aware, at least, of the positioning, and they know if they need to, they can just rotate around and pick up that kill very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see what his plan of action is here. Zelgod very much pinned down. The zone has shifted up once again. It's become a little bit smaller, and these teams are all going to have to migrate into it. We've got a nice mountain in the zone as well, and now some fights are happening here. Chaos trying to move up. Minato's already gone down, and our friend Hosea, whatever, has gone down as well. Trick's now moving up. He's the last one remaining. Thirsts come through as well. Squeak looking to pick those last couple of shots in. And it looks like Hosea is going to be taken down there. Trick's just going to hop in the vehicle and get out ASAP.
Oh, and somehow getting the winner chicken dinners this evening means absolutely nothing to these teams, because the way they play and the way they risk their gameplay going into the next game sort of nail bites them in the way, because we saw Chaos win game number 2, but now in game number 3, dying almost at 13 places. They still got Tricks making those solo rotations, but now it means the window of eliminations are just not going to be available. The risks of rotating is just going to be higher, and the passive gameplay is going to be much more present over there. But I'm liking now that we're going into the zone over here, and a lot of these teams know how to make those rotations, but availability is sort of normal available for in terms of getting their set positioning on the map. Everyone's sort of hogged around the white line, and therefore could potentially even cut off teams trying to make the rotations. Look at Exo Dope as he gets sort of beamed out here from what seems to be Black Crystal. This team, yes, Black Crystal, guys, not Black Clover, but Black Crystal. And XO has been eliminated as well and been knocked. So it does look like those confirmations are going to come into play. And that's really good for the team over here, because they really haven't been performing too much. We saw them on that second page of the overall leaderboard, and they need a clutch up of note if they want to find themselves qualifying into the further weekend of promotion relegation over here. Let's see exactly how they can sort of play this one going forward.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate chokehold on the back of that mountain as the zone starts to close in. So they got choked out of the game just a little bit there. Battle down in towards the south. Triple Three going to be winning that out. It does look like the player that we had out on the side has been eliminated at some point between the last time we saw him and now. In any case, looks like Squeak and the rest of the Comfy Cartel moving up in towards MZR. Just taking up residence here in the compound, so they're looking to put a little bit of pressure on, considering they're just on the crest of that zone, just barely inside. They do have a position in safety in terms of the zone, but in terms of cover, they're lacking quite severely, and they know it. They've popped that smoke, trying to obscure the vision from the mountain, and they're trying to take the fight one-on-one with MZR. But in order to be able to push that, they have to continue to stay alive here, which is going to prove to be quite difficult. Triple Three making the movements in as they also take up a spot inside safety to try and keep themselves alive. But there comes the shots from the top of the mountain, and they know they've got to get out of there ASAP, so they move forward, just keeping themselves out of line of sight. That mountain is going to prove to be a very difficult position, and indeed, now they're getting hit from the side. Lots of bullets now raining forth from all over the shows. Triple Three is still taking a fight here with MZR. And of course, the shots, the third-party shots coming in from the mountain, also going to prove to be a very, very difficult thing to deal with. And now the fact that the zone has moved forward as well is going to make this even more tough because these teams all need to rotate as well. So the pressure is absolutely rising now. 10 teams remaining, 35 players left alive here on the board. So the stakes are getting higher and higher the further we go along.
Ooh, and just in about 14 seconds, we're gonna have the blue zone shrinking. Teams, players like Crazy as well as Squeak now need to make those rotations, and I wonder where is True and Finny Bro, because they not seem to be too close to the player base or their teammates, but they are in somewhat the same vicinity in a way. MZR gonna be making the rotations on the left, and there's True and Finny Bro as they now come into the playing field of here. Sura taking in couple damage as he's trying to make the rotations in, and it's crazy that RTX has now sort of given the window for rotations here for SG. But look at Squeak. Squeak seems to be a bit naughty in the play that they're going in and may potentially go in for a couple beams on the rotation. No, it doesn't look like he's going to be looking for any trouble just yet, as they do find themselves some form of cover in rotation. 3-3 coming in behind MCR, as well as Crazy True and them. And look at Delusion as well as Neptune coming down from the mountain, making those rotations. And just look how many teams are available in such a tiny spot.
Yeah, and this is what it comes down to on a map like this, where the early eliminations don't come through. That is going to mean that chaos comes in at the end of the day. And now, as we reach the final few zones of this map, you can see that that is exactly what happens. All these teams now squeezed into a small space. They are right up in each other's business with very little cover to work with. They've got some hay bales, they've got some, mountains and little hills here and there, but ultimately things are running out very quickly. The space is running out very quickly as well, and they are learning that the hard way. You can see these teams now getting eliminated one after the other. MZR suffering quite a few losses there. Bloody the last one left. Triple Three keeping their numbers strong, but Toxic not being able to do the same, getting eliminated there by a couple of shots. And Mr. Raji, the last one left, under fire as well as the blue zone starts to creep up behind him, and now he's in danger. The blue zone is going to do a lot of damage. He has to run up, but he is pinned down and taken down as well. Comfy Cartel keeping themselves in this game by picking that kill up, and now they're going to start to put the shots in through the smoke, trying to put themselves on the board here and keep themselves from getting kicked out of the series. There's the Elam on Triple Three. It looked like they were safe, but that is not true. In a field where there's no cover, you could be outed at any time. And now Hamadi and Vibe, the last two left for a Black Clover there on the field. You could see things have definitely gotten very, very tough for these teams. HORZ even now pinned down and taken down. Tons of shots coming through, just sealing the deal for a couple of their players. And now with that zone shifting up north, it's made things even more difficult.
It has indeed, and I mean you have to give it up to Squeak in them. They've grabbed themselves so many eliminations in that very tough position that they found themselves in. So many teams were part of that over there, and they walk out with what seems to be 8 eliminations. Squeak gonna make the rotation in a vehicle, and I don't know if it's gonna be successful, but it goes guns blazing in, and he's making it. Nobody really looking at him. Nobody really focusing the vehicle. He's not getting tagged, and I say that, and ooh, just like that, he is absolutely wiped out of this map over here, and that is going to be a GG's to them. HORZ trying to make the rotation over here, but how can they? As Falcon is just a smither of HP, if he gets looked at or even just tickled, he's going to get a knocked. But it does look like somehow he's John Wick and just making a run through, and nobody's really focusing him in that position. Vibe also getting tagged up here by HORZ, and you can see the damage being present, and I can only imagine what could potentially come into play. Has the grenades, the Molotovs, they're all being present, and ooh, it does connect. He does get in some damage, and now he's gonna make that rotation. He is in an open window for some movement, but if you look up to the mountain, he just can't move too much as he is getting tagged up by the enemies around him. The play zone is gonna take G key, and that is gonna be a GG's to HORZ Esport.
Yeah, tough times all around, but that is the rough and tough terrain of a Miramar finish on the side of a mountain. Vibe down here for Black Clover, still alive at the foot of the hill. Your killer is, however, all the way at the top, looking nice and strong. They've got the numbers here, but they are directly opposed to a team right on the other side of the mountain. Now, Vibe is prepping those nades, getting ready for the inevitable push of his life at this point as the blue zone starts to come up from behind. Draken is just ready to collect that. He is looking for that push. He knows it's going to come anytime now. But it is Your Killer Is versus Black Crystal. There goes Black Clover. They get eliminated. Draken takes him down.
Mm.
So that's a Black Crystal eliminating Black Clover right there.
Ooh, interesting. But now we come down to a 4v4. Something that we don't usually see is numbers against numbers, and it is even at this point. And we got your team. Your killer is finally showing up to the party here in the very end game. Could potentially walk out with a winner chicken dinner, or could come out second place. What's the play here, Patchy?
Oh, I have no idea, but right now it seems like they have no choice. They have no time to think because the shots have already started to come through for Black Crystal. They do need to make sure that they stay inside the safety of the zone as quickly as possible because Your Killer is already relocated there. And you can see they are trying to edge closer, but it's not going to be a very easy time for Black Crystal to take up residence. Your Killer has the potential. They've got the control of the zone right now, and you can see a Draken taking a lot of damage there. Your Killer is just in the good position, and they are landing their shots. They are doing the damage right now. They're taking Black Clover for a ride. Can they retaliate is the question. The rotations have to come through to try and get into safety of the zone. But you can see that is not going to be much of a consolation prize. There's no cover at all. Anonymous almost getting eliminated right there and then. Very low on HP. It's about 1 or 2 HPs left, but he's getting himself juiced back up to try and stay alive here. Man, these shots are just coming through and they are laser accurate right now. But all of these teams have so much to lose, so much on the line. Every game counts, every point counts. They know they want these chickens. They want the chicken, and they have to fight for it. Titan now getting eliminated. That's a good pickup by Hasselbot. Trying to make it a little bit easier for Your Killer is. It looks like they have the upper hand here, and there's the confirm. This should be the go signal for Your Killer is. They've got the numbers advantage. They should be able to press the attack over Black Crystal. Draken low on HP, and there's the Elam. That should be it. One player left to deal with, and they're low on HP out there behind the tree, not able to even put up a fight. Gets taken down immediately, and that's the win secured for Your Killer is.
Ooh, win secured, but not
Yeah,
that
I
much
told you.
eliminations. Not that much eliminations here for, your killer is. But well done. I mean, you called them out early in the stream today, and they come through. They really show their gameplay. Your killer is really popped over there. But Black Crystal, you have to love those elimination counts that they've managed to secure for themselves. Black Clover coming in third with 5 kills, and yeah, this was an interesting one. And we having Chaos and Mad Clan, really the teams who've gotten the winner chicken dinners in tough positions.
They've been in very tough positions, and once again, we keep seeing these 1v3, 1v4 final zones. And I mean, unfortunately, if you're solo in that situation, you're absolutely surrounded. There's not much that you could do. I don't see it unless the stars align and everything goes your way. Unfortunately, that is then the end for you. All right, let's break this down. We've got 3 maps done and dusted. One more map, of course, being Erangel. So I mean, the teams have had a warm up on that one. They're familiar. They've had their first game jitters done and dusted out of the way. This is the final map that these teams have an opportunity to get points to get themselves out of that bottom 8 slots. If they are found within those bottom 8 slots at the end of at the end of Erangle, sure, I'm so used to Miramar being the last map. At the end of our next Erangle, then unfortunately Umzansi ends here for you. And unfortunately, you'll have to come back for Inkosi. Let's take a look at those standings just to remind ourselves of what happened on Miramar. Black Crystal picking up 22 points. Beautiful scoreline there for them. Your killer is, of course, showing up with the winner chicken dinner, but only 5 kills. HORZ Esports coming through in 3rd place with 16. And then it starts to trickle down quite drastically. You can see quite quickly. Unfortunately, everyone starts losing points. And this is what we've been talking about, consistency. I mean, time and time again, we've mentioned this, that, yeah, cool, you have one good game, but if you don't, have a repeat or at least say somewhat consistent, picking up some consistent points, it doesn't even need to be massive points, really. I mean, in a perfect world, yes, of course, please pick up 30, 20, points a games, but just picking up, 10 here and there, just picking up 15 every or so, or just even staying in that top 8 consistently with the map standings could mean that you are securing yourself that spot. Which again, you said time and time again, absolutely crucial. Ira, from your side, how are the teams performing compared to how they did in Inkosi?
Honestly, they really showing up to the party, right? I mean, game 1 and 2 was coming out from Inkosi teams. They did get the winner chicken dinner, but somehow, some way, it's as if it is a curse. You get the win and you must die of spawn or mid-game rotation. I mean, we look at Chaos right now, only 2 points. Mad Clan only 1 point, and we looked at that overall leaderboard, and it's starting to look scary now in terms of, okay, you only got 1 point from your 27, and it's just not going to be too good going forward into the next map, because they could potentially be falling out of that what was seeming to be a secure top 8 off of game number 1. But let's look at the MVP before we look at anything else. And we got Upshear managing to secure 5 eliminations, 619 damage, and a survival time of 21 minutes. And yeah, HORZ Esports doing the most in terms of that. They just unfortunately was scuffed out in that rotation. The way the other teams had the better heal advantage, they just couldn't really make that rotation either way. But you look at that kill distribution from the first page, and it's like 10, 5, 6, 8, 8, 5. So it's not like one team that's consistently running away with eliminations and pulling in 13, 15, 16. I mean, we haven't even had those games except for game number 1 coming up from the Mad Clan. But it's good. I like it. It's showing that tonight is competitive. Tomorrow should be as well. And it's now down to a single map to change the fate of how the future is going to be for some of these teams going into Umzansi.
It's very rough, unfortunately, for these teams, but at least I'm not the one playing. So we could just get to watch this, we just get to experience this. And speaking about experiences, we're going to go to a short break, but when we come back, of course, that is the last map of the first day of the promotion relegations. So make sure that you stay tuned, get some popcorn, maybe get something to drink, get comfortable, because there's still plenty of action. Of course, we still have to announce who's moving on to Sunday's games and who will we be saying goodbye to, unfortunately, tonight. I'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the promotion relegation games for Umzansi Esports League Season 4. We are down to the fourth and last map of the evening, and after that last map, we will unfortunately have to say goodbye to 8 teams and say hello once again to another 8 teams moving on to Sunday's final qualification games. Let's take a look at the overall leaderboard and start to break down what we might be seeing in this next game, because, of course, it's the last opportunity, it's the last leg for many and many of these teams. So, Patchy, Ira, guys, break it down for me.
Yeah, well, we'll
Actually,
have to take a look at what's going on here. HORZ Esports taking the lead at the moment, so they're in a pretty good position. Your killer is jetting themselves up to that second place. I don't want to say I called it, but I totally called it. Out here, we got Black Crystal in third place, followed very closely by MZR, Mad Clanning with 28 points in fifth. We've got Black Clover with 27, so very close up in there in sixth place. World MOX also seventh place with 26, and CHAOSxKINGS with 25. So very, very close on this first page here. So I think anything could really change in the matter of a single game. And, well, that's what we've got left. It's a single game.
yeah, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, if you look at page 9, like the second page, 9 and 10, maybe all the way down to 12th place, could potentially change things around. And for those teams who did so well here in game number 1 and 2, are just going to be quite sad about that if it were to go into play.
Patchy, I'm going to take a dig at your prediction rates there, hey?
It's 100% prediction rates.
There's only 2 teams on the first page of Umzansi.
Listen,
2 teams from Umzansi
your killer is out
on the first page, and you were backing your Umzansi brothers and sisters. What's happening here?
I said I was backing them. All right, they still have my backing. Anything is possible in a single game. You see where I'm going with this? I already said it. Anything is possible in a single game. We've got a single game left. They still have the chance to make this happen. We could see that 30 bomb getting dropped, and suddenly the team on the bottom of the logs, on the top of the logs, pull a little bit of a 4KT up in here. It's still possible. You don't, you'd be out here shirking my 100% prediction rates.
Because they're not accurate.
They're 100%.
You're the only one that says it's 100%, but it's literally not.
I know, but I'm the
I've
only one who
casted
needs to
enough
say
games with you to know.
I'm the only one who needs to say they're 100% because I'm 100% right. So if I say they're 100%, then they must be 100% because I'm the only trustworthy.
I'll get the admins to fact check you, and then I'll give you the number of how many times you've been accurate.
I already know what it is.
But off the top of my head, it's not 100%.
It's definitely 100%.
I can think of a few times that you were not accurate. So
I don't
none of
seem
this
to recall those
nonsense
times.
tonight. Of course you wouldn't. It makes you look bad. But Erangel, the last map for the evening. Iro, me and Patchy are done, causing nonsense. Will you break Erangel down for us? What is important in this map? What is important to focus on?
Okay, well, for the first and most part, right, we have about 4 teams in the second page that need to clutch up if they want to stay in the evening for us on Sunday, if they want to go through to Sunday's part of the map. And that means, like, we're sort of having an Umzansi moment where that second page was like 1 point between each other's, and it's almost like we're doing it all over again. The bottom sort of half of first page are in a scary position where if they die of spawn, they need to hope that the next team to die is the ones on the second pages because it's that close. So let's see exactly what happens. I mean, the teams that are currently in that first page did well in Erangle. We saw Toxic, who performed so well even though they were just a trio. They got 7 kills plus, and we'll talk more about it in this position where we look at the promotion. I thought we were actually going into the gameplay over there. But yeah, and then, you had Mad Clan, who actually pulled through some spectacular gameplay. So it all comes down to doing exactly what you did in map number 1. But again, like Patchy mentioned, they can eradicate the teams that didn't do too good in map number 1, eradicate their mistakes, change the way they rotated. And you can't really also change too much of rotation because RNG on zones is not going to be the same. Your loadout's not going to be the same. Your loot paths are going to be different. And now I just feel like everything's going to be different, and it doesn't matter what happened in game 1 because I forgot this is Battle Royale, this is PUBG, and there can be no predictions no 100% predictions.
Unless you're Patchy. Unless you're Patchy, which of course then you do have 100% predictions, and it's physically incapable of proving me wrong.
Very, very capable of proving you wrong indeed, sir. But as we remind you, of course, the top 8 from tonight will go on to Sunday's games, whereas the bottom 8 will have to say goodbye to their chances in Umzansi Season 5. It's do or die here for many of the teams who do have an opportunity to potentially just sneak up into that top 8 position, or potentially, unfortunately, say goodbye to Umzansi. So absolutely every single team that is playing for this last map has to take it all. They have to bring it all. They can't hold back. They need to show us everything and anything that they are capable of if they want to have an opportunity to come back on Sunday to potentially get their spot. Again, I keep saying potentially because there's nothing that is confirmed tonight. Nothing at all. The only thing we'll have confirmed tomorrow, or the first thing we'll have confirmed will be tomorrow, with the top 8 of tomorrow going straight through to Umzansi, and then of course the top 8 from Sunday's games going through to Umzansi. Still 16 spots. It's a lot better than it has been in previous seasons, but it's also been a lot more competitive in this season, especially. It's been so incredibly difficult to predict which teams will be going through and predict which teams will be doing great. And unfortunately, it's too competitive that the bar is constantly changing. So when we talk about predictions, they really are difficult. I give my casters a lot of nonsense, but it's just impossible at this point because that average bar is constantly shifting. So Patchy, no, you can't be 100% accurate. It's impossible.
Well, that's why it's so impressive that I'm 100% accurate, because everything's so tough, it's so difficult, but I just nail it every time.
Oh, I love this. I love it.
I can't have you be in denial. I need you to cast. I need you to be accurate in casting.
But I am. I called your killer is out, and there we go. They got a chicken dinner. What more do you want from me?
Okay.
That's 100% in my book. I say X team's gonna win. They get a chicken dinner. That's a win.
Okay, Patchy, who's gonna win game number 4?
Yeah, Patchy,
you know
who's
what?
gonna win?
We'll have to see. I left my future goggles in my other pants. But
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I left
No,
my
you
future
didn't.
goggles in the other pants. I'll bring them out next time, tomorrow.
Next time, tomorrow.
I'll bust them out
So then,
tomorrow, and I'll show
if
you
you're
some
saying that, that means you're confirming it's not you doing the predictions; it's your goggles.
No, it's me doing the predictions. But when you have to predict so far ahead, you got to bust out the future goggles to help out a little bit. It's an auxiliary tool to utilize in stats analysis. It's not the predictor. I'm the ultimate arbiter of the 100% Patchy point predictions, and I award myself 100 Patchy points for being such 100% accurate.
Listen,
I don't know.
I'm
It's
just
like-
hearing excuses for Patchy tonight. Like he's just refusing to give us an answer.
Definitely. I mean, Patchy, talking about tools, what do you think we could have here going into Erangle, the last map? What are the players meant to use to utilize going into the final games?
Well, I mean, I hope they're a little bit more comfy now that they've had a chance to sort of go through the motions. You know, earlier on today, I was talking about how we sort of putting them through the tests, all the different tests that they've got. They started on our bread and butter Erangel, the sort of overarching map. We had the close quarters map. We've just had the long range map. And now we're back to the bread and butter map. And after having the training of the close and the long and the warm up that we had in the beginning, I really, really do expect these teams are very well prepared for this. Now, I don't think that it's like, you know, oh, we have a whole new strat book prepared, but they should be more comfortable with how, like, the teams are playing, how things are going, and probably a little bit of a better idea on how to play Erangel. So I'm hoping that teams will get a little bit more confident, because right now, we see how close these teams are. Super, super close. I mean, there's a couple of points separating each rung of the ladder, which basically means that any team that picks up the pace here could change their fate entirely, especially if it's on the second page. They could move up onto that first page like this. It's an easy shift. We've seen it plenty of times. We've seen it even in the last game where teams are constantly shifting. We've seen it season after season. It's definitely possible. None so more than now. So really, everything is up in the air. The team that puts in the most now will be able to decide what's going on with them. So it's not done and dusted by any means for any of these teams. I think all of them are capable to make something happen here. So I really do hope that what we're going to see is a little bit more preparedness and a little bit more confidence on Erangel. So that's what I want to see utilized. I'm not necessarily expecting that to happen. We have seen the games today be a little bit slower to begin with, which has caused the final zones to be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more clustered. Especially we saw that in the final field finish in our games today. That was probably the most clustered that we've had so far. So that's probably, we're most likely going to see that again. But I think I do want to see, I think the team that gets confident now probably has a better shot of taking the chicken dinner in game number 4.
Absolutely, we don't want to see any of that hesitation that we also saw on the first map, because I mean that could mean the difference between you know, getting that one kill or not getting that one kill, which could make the difference at the end of the day on those leaderboards, on those standings. Which, again, we've said you need to be in the top 8. And the way that it's going, these points can be absolutely so close. That one kill or, you know, a team wipe could make the difference for you, whether you make it or you break it. So hopefully we will be seeing a lot of these teams, you know, shake off those little bit of nervous tension and energy that they had in the first map. Because now, I mean, 3 maps down, you should be pretty calm. You should be pretty collected. You should be pretty warmed up for the final map of the day. And of course, you've already played Erangel, so it's not like it's a new map. You know where you dropped. You know where some of the other teams may have dropped. You know what you ran into, and hopefully a lot of these teams would have adapted and fixed some of the mistakes they made in the previous Erangel game. I am curious to see if we're going to see the same teams on top of the charts. You know, if maybe their map is just their map, or if it was just completely RNG that led to them getting those points. That is the question here. And since Patchy doesn't want to give us the answers, we'll have to wait and see which team is going to end up there on top with the winner chicken dinner, and who will be heading through to Sunday's game. The grinder is here for the Umzansi Esports League Season 4, brought to you by Northern Gaming Africa. And once again, I'm going to remind you, if you want more information about Northern Gaming Africa, then you better go check out the Northern Gaming Africa website at northerngaming.africa. I hear the plane is getting ready.
Gaming Africas.
It is a lot of Northern Gaming Africas, but we are with Northern Gaming Africa, so we have to remind people to go check out Northern Gaming Africa.
At northerngaming.africa.
Yes. Exactly. Moving on to Erangel, I'm going to hit it over to our wonderful casters. It's Patchy, it's Ayo taking you through the action on Erangel for the last time today. Guys, take it away.
There it is. Thank you so much, S-Proxy. And you know what? If you want something from me, I've already given it to you. You're asking me, you say I don't give you the answers, but I've given you the answer. My Patchy prediction already came true. So I don't need to give you anything more than that. And as we head into map number 4, we're going to see who is going to be the final victor here on this map, who is going to take home the final chicken dinner and change the fate of the game, and see if they are going to make it to the next round. Just a reminder of what's going on, what we're fighting for here. It's not a guarantee into the Umzansi just yet. It's a guarantee to be in the next round of the promotion relegational series, and that will give these teams a chance to get up into Umzansi.
Yeah, so, you know, that hardcore grinding that they've managed to do, and, you know, for some of the teams from Umzansi that made mistakes in their gameplay to redeem themselves going into Season 5, to remain in the Umzansi over here, but still very long way to go. You know, there's additional 4 more games on Sunday that need to be played out till we find out our next 8 teams to sort of join into the Umzansi. It's going to be interesting aspects that we get out of it, and it's going to be competitive. I mean, if today is played out the way it is, you know, the slow gameplay, the passiveness going into end game, you know, knocking a player, not getting those confirmations is displayed today. I can only imagine what Sunday is going to have on for us over here, and just how hectic those rotations are going to be in. But it comes down to those final moments, which we still got to go through tomorrow as well to see the gameplay that we have on board here in the Umzansi Esports League.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Just for clarity's sake, you know, S-Proxy out here calling me out, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of rebuttal while she's not able to answer me. She called me out on my, you know, Umzansi team's backing, but I didn't just mean for this game or even for the games today or this. I meant for this whole promotion relegational series. I think the Umzansi teams can bring some fire, and I do expect that that will be the case once we get to the finals of the promotion relegational series. So keep an eye out for that. Patchy 100% prediction rates in the chat. Other than that, we will have a look and see the teams do decide to get themselves onto this map. And we have two teams that have dropped down onto that military base, just earning themselves those
Yeah.
patchy points right there. EXS and RDX actually both doing that, but both of them have dropped all the way to the east. So they're quite close, and the rest of the island is totally open. They do have to get that rotation on as well because the zone is north of their position. So we might just be seeing them rotating both across that bridge, which means that maybe a little bit of a fight could happen over there in that direction. We do have some teams up north already inside the zone. It's a little bit of an easier zone for a lot of the teams, so they'll be happy with that. Should be able to utilize that. And I still want to see the confidence. I think that's really the crux of what I'm looking for here, to see if any of these teams can actually pick up the pace a little bit and kind of go the extra mile here to make sure that they're secure for this round.
Yeah, well, let's see exactly what goes into play. I mean, Chaos could potentially be a detrimental position for the rotations that we get to see out from X as well as RDX, because they have only one exit, and that is in front of Chaos, a sort of POV. EXO redefined, trying to find themselves in a fight against Your Killer Is. This one, however, could be the wrong move, and there's no fixing your mistakes if you do die right over here.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically it. This is the last match for today, and it will be the last match as well for the promotion relegation series for a lot of the teams, for half of them to be exact here on this map right now. I think two of them have already decided their fate because they haven't played today, so I think they're going to be sent away. So that's 2 out of 8. So we've basically got 6 more teams to decide who are going to be taken out here. 6 teams will be saying goodbye. And really, that comes straight down to the performance right here, because as I said, a single game can change which teams get relegated and which do not, which continue on to the next round. So this game is hugely important for just about every team that is currently playing.
Definitely, very important. EXO finding themselves in a gunfight position with Your Killer Is. And for now, it does look like the formation built around Your Killer Is has been amazing. But ooh, look at Anonymous. He's behind everyone in a way, and he can get a flank in onto Peru as well as Dope. And that could be the change in the way things are played over here. Killer is meant to make a rotation out of this one. Hopefully, does not get nailed by that rotation, and it's not too of a tough one for him going out of the sort of vicinity he's in. Hasbot gets the rotation in, and I'm loving that. I'm loving how he's gone in, risked the rotation with a vehicle to get Killer out of there, and now Your Killer is not in any sort of top position. For EXO Redefine, unfortunately, they can't really even pick up any eliminations over there. They did have the formation sort of surrounding them, but Hasbot to the rescue, man. Picked up his teammate and gone there out, disengaged successfully.
Yeah, indeed. So gonna be able to escape that, just disengaging and making sure they get out of that particular situation. Pachinki is occupied by 2 of the players there. We've got a couple moving around towards Mansion as well, and Shelter. RDX have made their way across that bridge into safety of Milta. And the rest of the teams just hovering around. You can see Toxic moving around, Saverni just moving away from the position there, just getting out of trouble. And most of the time is just being spent getting into position, getting that loot, and making sure that they are prepared, which I think is probably at this point the best decision to be made. You've got to make sure that you are ready for the fights that are going to be happening, because they are going to be happening, and it's going to be the most critical fights for a lot of these teams. And yeah, as we said, 6 of them won't be making it through to the next round, so we're going to have to say goodbye to somebody, but the determination of who that's going to be is happening right now as we speak on your screen, right before your very eyes. These teams are deciding their fate and seeing who is going to be moving up to that next round. So far, we haven't seen anything too crazy happening on the map just yet, but I do expect some fights to break out somewhere at least. Otherwise, we're going to be finding ourselves in the same situation that we started out with, Arrow. It's going to be crazy final zones.
Yup, indeed, crazy indeed. I can tell you it is gonna be happening. I mean, this is the final game, and people know how close it is. They know what's at stake. If they do go into a fight, it's not going to be the easiest fight as well because it's going to be very long. They're going to play it out passive, and that then means let's invite third parties to come to the party. Now, EST, however, Next, Spectrum, Cyborg, and Toyo, they've done well in their grind up to promotion relegations, but unfortunately haven't really done too amazing in the day number one. And hoping that, this is a change of play for them, that maybe they get to clutch up a couple games for themselves, but it does look like maybe they just do enough to go into the next round. Chaos, they've done well. They've done amazing, but like it's always crazy how one wrong move right now means goodbye to the rest of the grind for promotion relegation. And hello to Inkosi, which is a grind as just as much as it is in Umzansi. Let's see exactly what will be going into play over there. But we are nearing, the next sort of rotation that needs to come into play. We've been in the map for about 9 minutes, and only one player has been eliminated.
Yeah, and I mean that is the indicator that these teams will be facing a very, very difficult finish on this map. It is going to come down to who can manage their positioning, who is going to get the favor of the zone, who is going to be able to find a good position and utilize their resources, their smokes, and all such things to the best possible usage. And it really is just going to come down to the wire on that front. Right now, you can see up in the north, teams getting quite close together as the rotations come through from that particular direction. They'll probably be touching toes just a little bit there as they move past one another. A couple of teams centralizing already. HORZ Esports, of course, being the one to do that. And Comfy Cartel moving up just on their heels. So yeah, they know what's at stake. They know what's about to happen. They know what is going on. We know what's going on. It's about to be a whole lot of fights because I think all of these teams are currently looking to centralize. So I mean, you can actually see there's like a huge division between, like, usually it's not this clear, but this is the most clear cut division of like phases in a game that we see. They've literally gone from early phase and setup phase right into mid game phase, and it's like the most clear cut thing because you can see every single team is now centralizing
Oh
into zone.
man. Oh, this is looking like a tornado. It's pulling everyone to the center of that map. And this is something you don't really see too much often. Usually the case is you have one team, two teams in the center of the zone. But now you just see everyone hogging into the vehicles to make that rotation. And just look how many teams are so close to one another. But at the same time, sort of finding their residence and setting camp in the positions of their, so much so maybe Horse finding the best play for them. Toxic finding onto the play for Black Clover over here, who Black Clover did exceptionally well in their gameplay as well. But let's see exactly what goes into play here. Toxic Unknown seems to be very much separated from his team as he's just hogging onto the tree to maybe get a couple, one or two shots in. But it does look like now he decides to run disengage from that because if they on the second page, it's passive gameplay. It's not that 7 kill trio kills that we get to spectate or get to know of coming out in game number one. And I say that, but Toxic, Mr. Raji, he gets himself in a knock onto Neptune over there. So Neptune sort of now needing to be revived in this position. And now we're starting to see the action come alive. Look at Exusia all the way down, excluded from everyone, making that dead side rotation. It does look like that is going to be coming out quite well for them. They're going to be happy about what positions they do find themselves in. At the same time, just as everyone has made the rotation to centralize themselves and so forth, the sort of playing field or residence area that could put yourself in is just not going to be available. So X could be putting themselves in a tough one. But Erangel, you can play Blue Zone to some certain degree, and let's see exactly what that means for them if that's what the rotation and strategy that they will be pulling in here for the final game here, Patchy.
Yeah, usually what you want to see from a blue zone strat at this stage is maybe like a quick rotation around in through blue zone to try and catch somebody off guard, or maybe wait out a fight that's happening up ahead. At this stage, you
Yeah.
don't really want to be tempting anything longer than that because things get difficult. Unless, of course, you're forced into it. If you've been caught out and you kind of have to just stay back and try and out heal, that's a different question entirely. But ultimately, you generally don't want to tempt them for much longer than anything like that. So maybe there's some rotations that could come through for them. For now, most of the northern half of that zone looking quite crowded because, of course, that zone did shift down slightly towards the south. So it's forcing all the teams downward, which means the northern half of the zone is looking absolutely jam-packed right now. RDX making a quick shift down into the safety of that zone. Spectrum trying to put a few hits across to do some damage to the players on top of that hill there, and has succeeded just a little bit. Triple three taking a little bit of damage from Tricks as the shots do come through from Chaos side. HORZ actually taking a fight with Gorilla as well. Gorilla gets taken down there. So the fights are starting to break out, and that is inevitable as these teams have started to rotate into the zone and get a whole lot closer together. The fights are definitely going to be breaking out more and more as we move forward. We've got 14 teams remaining, but I do presume that those numbers are going to be going down very, very shortly.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a moment where, again, if you blink, you miss out on everything. So remember, chat, to keep your eyes wide open and peel yourself to the screen, to your TV, to the monitor, whatever it is that you guys are watching on, because the action is going to be soon to explode here and be very explosive in terms of what we get. And 333 finding himself on literally a smither of HP has high Nuko is trying to get the revive there. They do get the smoke screen, but a grenade from Black Crystal over there could be so awesome to see. Expect a Titan trying to get in a couple tags in through the smoke screen, but unfortunately not going to be able to connect any of that, and could potentially find themselves in a tough one as Comfy is quite behind them over there in that position. But we're down to a 14-minute gameplay and only 5 players have been eliminated. No squad has been wiped out from the map just yet, and that is very, very crucial and scary to this point when we're about to just go into our fourth zone of play and rotation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Things starting to get much more scary and difficult here for these teams. We've got so many players still left alive, so many teams still left alive. This tells you exactly what you need to know. These teams know that this is the final chance to get to put points on the board. They know what's at stake here. They cannot go out early. No one wants to take the huge risks. No one wants to just overextend or do anything like that. They want to play neat and tidy, make sure they don't get taken out. But neat and
Ooh.
tidy is not what it is about to be. Look at that zone all the way in the west. All these teams got to take a sprint, take a jog, take a drive. They got to get there ASAP because only 2 teams, maybe 3, find themselves in the zone right now. Everyone else has to rotate, and that means we are definitely going to be seeing some scuffles, some shots, some gatekeeping happening. As soon as these teams start to rotate, things are about to hit the fan, and certainly you can see that HORZ already trying to make a move up from the north. A lot of teams moving in. You can see Chaos deciding to actually centralize, which is a good decision considering everyone is about to make an appearance inside that zone. Things about to heat up quite considerably.
Definitely. Now all the rotations are going into play. Titan has found himself getting knocked on that play, and you can see Poseidon from RDX just in behind over there, not really looking to get any focus whatsoever. Your killer is finding themselves in a tough one, has 1 player has been down, seemingly maybe 2 players have been down in this position over here, and it is not exactly what you'd hope for, but this is something that you sort of put in line for your future because of how passive everyone is playing for. Therefore, it means the action is somewhat meant to explode. Maybe not now, maybe in a minute, maybe in 2, but we'll definitely be seeing some of that action displayed here on screen. The smoke screen getting played over here, and then the revive from Haspot is going to be played out over here. It doesn't look like he's going instantly for it just yet, trying to maybe get some cover and more safety for that over there. If Jinx is just able to look over the hill into this position, just imagine how many kills he could walk out over here with.
Yeah, certainly could be quite a few, and we're having a few eliminations all over the board as well. The South going crazy, the North going crazy. Everyone's starting to get a little bit uncomfortable here because of the proximity. You can see the smokes going up all over the show, which is basically going to be the name of the game right now. Anonymous getting taken down. That's Your Killer is getting into a little bit of a fight there with the Comfy Cartel. Yo-Yo getting taken down by the play zone. Definitely not the way you want to go, but it is going to be the fate of a lot of these teams if they don't get a move on. Separate zone is on its way in. We're about to move from zone 4 to zone 5. Your Killer is still getting so many casualties from the SG team there. Comfy Cartel putting the damage in. Bloody just keeping an eye on the HORZ team just across the way. Want to make sure that they don't get pushed at this time. The thirst's coming through, though. Your Killer is getting taken down. They're just not being able to survive the onslaught there. And that is the end of them, I think. If I see that correctly, we are down to 13 teams, so I presume so. That is definitely a little bit of a tough one.
I don't know. I still feel like, the consistency from game 1 to 3 means enough for them. Whatever happens in terms of clutches and so forth, I still feel they remain on that first page to go over Monday. But the rotations just here in Erangel have been so quite hard. I mean, if you look at Delusion, he's all the way in the blue zone in a vehicle just hovering around. And look what we have over here as BC from a Black Clover trying to make the plays. They go over onto RDX as RDX have no time at all to respond to that. They just get two of their players out and dusted and sent back to the lobby. But I don't think it's a full wipe, is it? I think it is. I mean, we're down to 12 after those eliminations.
Yeah, it could certainly be. And I think that's actually Black Crystal that
Black Crystal,
up there
yes.
on the top.
I saw Draken, sorry. I see Draken, yes.
Literally confusing us all day long. But it's fine. We're still out here. We're still making it happen. And indeed, we are down to 12 remaining teams. Now you can see the Cartel moving in towards the east of the zone. The zone has shifted up to the north of its previous position. So the teams are going to have to get into a scramble once again to try to get to safety. You could already see the chaos up in the north. The south is about to be an exact equal of that. HORZ trying to make a move because they are just towards the top of the zone, trying to assert themselves. Just look at our friend Huzaifa making the work happen in that kill feed. Look at that. Just putting the shots in, taking down Black Crystal one by one. Just absolutely eliminating them. What is this guy doing? He's just taking them down one by one. Cheerio, cheerio. Just putting those kills in. He is not happy with just sitting around. He wants to pick the kills up, and that's exactly what he's doing. MZR now on the side here. The eliminations are just absolutely flying. Nobody is safe. 10 teams remaining, but only one team is going to walk away with that chicken dinner right now.
And it can be anyone at this point, as we have so many crucial teams still alive. HORZ Esports in this one, MZR in this one. We also got Mad Clan in here, EST still alive. 34 teams or players in this position to try and make a name for themselves. Toxic, even though a trio, they're still making themselves known. Erangle has to be one of the most spectacular games that we have this evening. Matic just found himself getting knocked over there, and now they need to go in for that smoke screen to try and get that revive. X could potentially, Zalgod could potentially be a detrimental to Mad Clan, or even Kadu, who's coming in from behind, can position himself onto the players over there. And you do see that coming out as now old boss is knocked, and they need to try and go for the revive. Zalgod could potentially go in for the clean, go in for the confirmations that X Zone desperately need, as they not have been consistent to a degree to make it all the way to Sunday. But this could potentially change things around for them, and even more so onto Mad Clan, because only 4 squads have been eliminated, so not that much placement points have been up for grabs for these teams. Even just one team kill for Mad Clan over here, but they do manage to pick up the entire team. But yet again, finding himself in a sticky situation as Zalgod gets a knock onto Pikachu, and you do see the action onto Mad Clan as now 2 players go down. Matic trying to clutch up over there, and it does look like maybe he does do so indeed. He does get a knock in to play for his team over there onto Kadu, so now that pressure is sort of released a bit over here.
Yeah, the pressure's relieved maybe just a little bit, but it's about to build all the way back up again with that zone shifting down slightly to the south, leaving the teams high and dry. They're going to have to turn tail and run as quickly as possible. That's just going to open them up to the shots, to the third parties, to the crossfire. It's going to be a tough one. Mad trying to take a breather here in the hut, and they do have a little bit of safety compared to the rest of the teams. But what the rest of the teams have is an open shot straight in towards that zone, and that's going to prove to be a very difficult thing to beat at this point. If you get yourself inside that zone, you're already miles ahead of your opponents who are going to be fighting out in the blue zone if they're not careful. You can see the shots coming through now. HORZ taking a bit of damage. MZR putting it in. But up come those rotations. They know they needed Zelgard in no position to be assisted here. He is just going to be left high, and Jirai, the Elims, will come through as well. Confirmations getting picked up, and that is quite a bit of damage in there. Chaos just picking up a few for themselves. That's Tricks putting the damage in. Minato finding a nice nade on towards Mad. Next, getting taken down. Cyborg hits the deck as well. Hugs and kisses all across the board. Hamadi putting the shots in towards True. True gets confirmed by Skya. And man, it is just absolute chaos on the map. You can see the height advantage for some of the teams, but it's not very easily utilized just because the sheer volume of teams in this small space. We're already 6 zones deep, about to hit our 7th, and things are not about to get any easier for these teams. Crazy trying to put the shots in, but instantly getting taken down from the side. Nova just finding those shots. Comfy Cartel got to be careful about their positioning. Can't really make the peaks. They can't really take the chances at this point because they are just being punished left, right, and center.
Definitely been punished in this position, but so much has happened over there, and with the blink of eye, so many players have been eliminated. Mad somehow managed to pick up one of their players who was knocked, and they still remain as a duo in this position. Chaos Tricks, who with his entire squad is dealing the damage over there onto Comfy. Comfy Squeak just looking to be confirmed, and within a moment over here, we could potentially see that entire team being eliminated. Will Tricks make the play onto this? It does look like he's trying to get a position of no to try beam the player. Has he climbed up this hill, but he's noticed Nova in a position where he's behind. He does a strategy of beaming him and then getting the car to explode onto Nova, and Nova will then get knocked in that play, and that is just not going to be too good from him over there. But if you look over the way here on the very top, you got MZR, who's still alive, who can potentially make the rotations going down into the position where they could be safe. But Chaos is showing up to the party, and ooh, just look at that snipe all the way down from Trick. He gets a massive one onto MZR, and Clutch is picking up some kills onto HORZ as well, and it is looking amazing.
Yeah, it is looking amazing. It's also looking amazingly tough with 5 teams remaining. They have come through quite a difficult battle, quite a slaughter fest of note. And now they are left with nothing but a hill and some blue zone. Fenny feeling the pain and just barely able to make it out alive. Makes the correct decision in trying to heal up, but just gets taken down from the top of that hill. The height advantage giving them a perfect angle straight in there, and they just get taken down. And of course, now Chaos going in for the confirm. Minato is just going to roll across to the other side, but instantly third party. I mean, look at this Chaos. These teams not able to keep it together. They try and move forward, but the third party shots just come in. And speaking of third parties, there are only 3 parties on this map right now. It's MZR, it's Mad, and of course Chaos trying to make something happen on the board. Freeze it. Lots of damage, but stays alive. That's a confirm. The knock onto the other side gives them a chance to get the teammate back up. That's a good decision. That's going to give them a little bit of numbers to work with. Shura in the same mindset, just picking up the teammates, trying to get the numbers advantage going as best as possible. Chaos trying to get the heals through. The smoke is there, but smoke doesn't stop bullets, and it certainly doesn't stop nades either. Magic trying to keep hopes and dreams of Mad alive, but slowly losing that HP. Damage going all the way across to all of these teams, but it looks like Magic is in a little bit of trouble. MZR seem to have the upper hold here.
Definitely do. I mean, they're in the heighted position, and we know what position means in this game. Magic trying to deal the damage, but Shura is there to take him out, and now we're down to 2 teams. It's a 3v2, but this height position and advantage that they do have over Chaos just means that exactly as those nades do get deployed, they do tag up Tricks, and the partner that is available over there, the healing is trying to go into play, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough over here as they pushing onto the positions, and MCR is not wasting any time as Shura and Clutcher is just going straight in. Trix gets taken down. Clutcher goes over here, and Freezer, he's able to deal some damage, but it doesn't look like he can do so anymore as he's now down to a slither of HP, and he's going to be taken out, and a win is going to go over to MCR. They're going to have a beautiful dinner for that one over there with so many eliminations in the back pocket and clutching their final games over here. But you have to love to see Mad Clan still somehow getting into that top 3 position, even though 2 of their players sort of went off quite early in the 10th place over there. But Magic as well has Old Boss managing to clutch up and a 3rd place over there, and then Chaos coming through to the party with some spectacular gameplay. And that is the 4 games we've had, Patchy. What an amazing scene.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And things closed off in a pretty difficult way for some of these teams. But other teams are going to be pretty happy with that result. And that is, of course, because some teams will be getting promoted to the next round and some, of course, will be relegated. So we've got some happy and some sad teams. And of course, if we just take a quick inspection of the prediction book, you'll see that my stats still remain at 100% since the promotion relegation period is not yet over. And so, of course, we must be maintaining our 100% prediction rates. At least I will.
Oh, I love it.
Uh, you did you go to like statistics classes when you were in university?
It's
Have
possible.
you have you been to a statistics class ever?
I've definitely been in some. I took maths.
Maths and stats are very different, Patchy.
I know how to add 2 numbers together.
Okay, it's fine. I think I've made it fun of you enough for tonight. But yeah, let's talk about it. The 4th map done and dusted. So after the overall standings are completed and calculated, we will know who's going to be going through to Sunday's games and who will be ending their journey for Umzansi here. Of course, Inkosi will still be a thing as far as we know. So there's still opportunities for teams to come back. It depends though. I don't know, Iro, I was asking you this earlier. The Inkosi sort of, it's a gauntlet of its own, really. I mean, we've spoken about this before. It's really tough to actually make it in Inkosi. Would you mind telling our viewers a little bit more about that?
Okay, so Inkosi has, every week, just like Umzansi, but it's not 3 days of competitive. It's a single day where 198, maybe even 200 teams go into their set lobbies, 16 teams across the map, across the globes, but only the top 2 or top 3 go into the 16 finals of the week, and only that 3 games means that they can clutch up the points on the leaderboard. So it's very inconsistent in terms of who goes through every week to those 3 games because of how tough it is to get that top 2. It comes down to positioning, placement points, eliminations, and balancing those, and only the elite come back week after week after week. So for the teams that are at the bottom 8 of today, it's going to go to the Inkosi League, and that's if they can even survive there to really come back to the promotion relegation phases that we find ourselves in. And let's see whether the blood, sweat, and tears they have from today will be carried on in the Inkosi, because I can tell you it's not going to be easy. It's going to be, again, blood, sweat, and tears in the Inkosi for the next season, guys. But I can't wait to see exactly what happens and what the overall leaderboard is going to be looking like. So much hype across there. But I think these are the standings just for this game. And look at M0 clutching up so much. And Chaos, Mad Clan, Comfy. I know someone who is really happy about that 4th place position. Really excited about that one. EST really doing well. This is a team that Inkosi I looked at, and I was hoping that they would have, come to the party today with a lot more consistency on the table. Unfortunately, they've managed to do well towards the end. I hope it's enough to pull through. Exusia also trying to do the most they can. EXO Redefined, Black Crystal, and the games that were displayed in Erangle itself were probably the best. Sanhok and Miramar is a mess. the close combat or the long distance fights that you get to have is always so crazy. Toxic Esports with 2 kills, a trio that I have to give respect to, because they came in here one man short, but they tried putting everything in a basket to try get some placement points as well as eliminations. They started with a bang, but I don't know if that bang was loud enough to actually go all the way into that top 8 in the overall. Your killer is as well, was over there, very present, got a winner chicken dinner, but game number 4 just was not it. But look at MZR over here, going to the very end, with 5 eliminations, 711 damage, and 26 survival time. This one really went to the very end to get our winner chicken dinners. And yeah, amazing to see the team MZR doing exactly that.
And it's the second time that we've seen in Clutch Bay actually be the MVP for the evening. So, absolutely just picking up the kills, doing the damage, which is very, very necessary. But now that we've taken a look at the standings, we've taken a look at the MVP, now we need to figure out, okay, who's going to go through to Sunday? Who are we saying goodbye? My casters, can we get a simulator drum roll? Here it comes. Production? Yeah, there you go. There it is. So the teams on this list right now will be going through to Sunday's games for another opportunity to potentially secure themselves a spot in Umzansi Season 5. Patchy, would you do us the honor of reading through these names?
Yeah, let's just get right into it. So MZR with some pretty good consistency. I think we've seen them on the MVP twice, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty good coming out from them. That means their kills were definitely in the right place, and you can just see from the points they absolutely were. 27 placement points is considerable enough as is, but 29 kills, that is the most kills out of the entire lobby. And this is why I keep saying kills are really, really important. They changed the whole game, and this is it. Consistency coming out of MZR in terms of kills. Placement's also very, very good, and they're heading up that in position number 1. Chaos coming in with number 2 in 46 points right there. Mad Clan 42 points in 3rd place. We've got HORZ Esports in 4th with 35. Your killer is in 5th place with 33 points, so that's another point for Patchy right there in his 100% prediction rate. Of course, we have got Black Crystal, Comfy 6, and Black Clover all coming in 6, 7, and 8 with 33, 33, and 29 respectively coming out there. So those are the teams that will be making it up into the next round of the promotion relegational phases. The teams that will not, however, be able to do that, unfortunately, will be the following teams: EXO Redefined coming in 9, Exusia in 10, World Demo X in 11, Toxic Esport in 12, G3 Mac in 13. We've got EST in 14, Immortalz in 15, and of course Ultra 6 in 16, the 2 teams that didn't make it today. So that is it right there. We are on to the next round. Of course, tomorrow is going to prove to be equally as interesting because these teams are going to be sent straight through the grinder again. So they have already gone, the top 8 teams that are moving on to the next round, they've already gone through the fire and the flames, but they're going to go through all over again before we get to the end of this weekend. And it is going to be fantastic to see because earlier we were talking about refinement. That's exactly what we're getting. And I think the finals of this promotion relegational phase are going to be very, very interesting.
Absolutely. So please come join us tomorrow, same time, same place, for more promotion relegation action as we continue refining, we continue grinding out the rest and only take our top 16, the best of the best, through to Umzansi. 8 slots are up for grabs tomorrow. So it should be interesting, and you definitely do not want to miss the action. So please join us, same time, same place, as I said. We would love to have you here to enjoy it. And of course, guys, make it better. So hopefully we can see you. Big shout out to our production team, our observers, and of course our casters for the action today. The teams definitely did give us a show, and tomorrow will be no exception. Enjoy your evening. Hope to see you tomorrow. Cheers for now.